All right, everybody, what is up? Hopefully you can hear me. Keep our fingers crossed. So this is a little bit different than how we usually do this live stuff. And just kind of going into this with the whole, stay home and kind of keep your social distancing, the 6 feet away and all that stuff. If you can hear me, just reassure me. Let me know that you can hear me. I've seen way too many streams where you can't hear the person. But yeah, so I figured it'd be a good time just to kind of get together. No real agenda, no real topic, just kind of get together, have a couple drinks, talk about stuff. Got a special guest today, but I'm not going to introduce him until I see somebody confirm that you can hear me. I don't think you can hear me. Hey, there we go. Yes, technology. Oh, you can hear me. Cool. I didn't think you could hear me. I thought I was mute. Hopefully the mouth matches up to the talking. So again, just to kind of reiterate, no topic today, no real kind of, thing to talk about. You might notice me looking up here, and I have a monitor up here so I can see. I have my keyboard here. I'll be moving it around. We'll be using the mouse mostly, but I have a special guest. And today my special guest is John Farner from sombeer.com. Let me pull him in here. Hey, John, how are you?
Doing well. How are you doing?
I'm all right. We had a little talk before. We were talking about some stuff. John, tell us about Sombeer.
Sombeer is a media website. We focus primarily on beer and craft beer. Sometimes we dabble in other topics like liquors, food, and so on. But we primarily want to talk about beer as much as we can and bring attention to the companies and the people that we like, because we love the craft beer community. We love the people in the craft beer community, and we want to support it in good times and in hard times like right now.
And you're not just we sound like we have a lot of similar kind of interests. We talk about a lot of similar things. And obviously you and I have talked quite a bit, but you're not specifically Michigan focused. You're just craft beer focused, right?
Yeah, so we're craft beer focused. We do talk about any beer that we can, being that there's two people that are primarily involved with Sombeer, and we have writers all over the country, but the two people that really do the most on the site being myself and David, the founder of the site. We both reside in Michigan, so being that we're local, we tend to kind of skew a little more favorable towards Michigan, but it wouldn't be. There's been plenty of times where I've made trips to Florida, Chicago, other Indiana places to specifically to cover beer. So we do as much as we can with the minimal budget that we have.
I can relate to that. Okay. All right, so I got all these little shortcuts set up on my keyboard here. I just got let's see if it works. So first up, before I start drinking, I'm going to ask. Oh, let's see. How's this working out? Oh, we got to do this. What are you drinking? Anybody in the chat? Let us know what you're drinking. I'm going to start with something. I have a cooler here because that's how I roll. I am going to start with something light because this could be a bit of a marathon instead of a sprint. I'm going to go with this Kolsch that I got, and I'll talk about it for a second here. What are you drinking, John?
This probably doesn't surprise anyone, but I'm currently drinking a Pro Pils from Drafting Table, which is kind of my go-to beer of choice. For those who aren't aware, Drafting Table is one of the breweries that is currently closed right now due to all this nonsense with the coronavirus, and I was lucky enough to stock up right before they closed, so I got a little bit of a cushion for now, but this is the beer that I drink. If I was going to drink a beer 7 days a week for a month straight, this would be it, hands down. So it's just nice. It's light. It's crisp. It's kind of everything that I want in a daily drinker. It's got all the flavor that you want and expect out of a craft beer, but it's also refreshing, enjoyable, and approachable, which, sometimes you want to have a beer and just talk with friends. You don't necessarily want to have to contemplate everything that's going on in the glass, too.
Yeah, I get that. And I just saw, looking at the chat here, Fabian says, toppling Goliath pseudo Sue. And that's kind of funny because I have to remember how to say this because I think there's an official way to say it. Tavor, right? It's not Tavor.
Oh, yeah.
It's not whatever. But Tavor, I just got Pseudo Sue in the mail. So I'm going to
they
show
sent that
off.
to me a couple weeks ago. I got Sue right behind my head there. So,
oh yeah, right up. I'm pointing like you can see it. And then we got Mike Krosnick says CBS. Got Grush 6. Insetto from Stillwater. Dave is saying drinking a pale ale from Icarus. And then we got the real Dr. Bigfoot drinking a quarantine and chill from Ascension. Wow. Hey, I got a crispy department #1 from Ascension. And I kind of wanted to talk real quick about Ascension. And I'm going to do this. Going to do a little bit of a close-up. Hopefully you can see that. Ascension's pretty cool because they are one of the few places, I know there are a few other places that are doing delivery, beer delivery. So that's pretty cool. Like I ordered this online and they were able to bring it to my house and they dropped it off on my porch. And that's pretty dope. Like you don't have to go anywhere. You can just, I don't know why I'm drinking this out of an IPA glass. I just realized but I guess it's wet, right? So that's all that really matters.
I don't think it's going to break it. So
no, I don't know. It might break the glass.
Well,
yeah, that's kind of cool. I'm glad I could figure out how to do all this stuff. All right, back to the main.
Yeah, I never thought I'd see the day that home beer delivery was a thing in Michigan. I didn't think it would take the end of the world to bring it about. So
right. So what have you, how you been spending your time? And guys in the chat, if you want to let us know how you've been spending your time, just to kind of just catch up with chat. Wes Vesper says he's drinking Little Bird from the Ferndale Project. And Fabian, I went ahead. I skipped somebody here. We got Review the Brew. Drinking his last marshmallow peanut butter Gorilla Juice. And Robert, come on, it's a pandemic, man. I was going to send the glass, I promise. I still am. It's not past tense. All right. So how you been filling your time, John?
I'm lucky enough to be working from home. So at least 40 hours a week, I'm doing that. Outside of that, I cook a lot anyway. So I'm doing more cooking now, which is kind of a mix of good and bad. Drinking a lot. I've been through, I think, 2 bottles of bourbon right now. And whenever I get around to being able to return bottles again, that's going to be a nice little, I should be able to buy a nice bottle of bourbon instead of a cheap bottle of bourbon once I get around to doing that. Outside of that, I discovered that I have a basketball hoop in my backyard when I moved into this house, which I never thought I would use. But since I can't really leave the house and go anywhere, I've been doing that for the last couple of days, which is, I'm sure, very comical looking. So
we had a basketball hoop when we moved in here, and I thought, like, yeah, I'm really going to enjoy it. I'm going to shoot hoop. I'm not any good, but, I'll shoot baskets every once in a while. And I think I don't think I ever used it. And we got new siding put on. We took it off anyways. So
yeah, I very long. Never used it until yesterday. And now I'm like, well, what else am I going to do right now? So,
yeah. So what's everybody else been? Fill it up in the chat. Let us know. How have you been spending your time? I've still got all my priorities, family, work, all this stuff. It's like, I know for me with my kids, it's basically, part-time, full-time laborer, well, not real laborer, but full-time worker, part-time half-ass homeschool teacher. And that's really, I don't know, really taking it out, not taking it out of me, but it's like, just extra stress that you don't really need in your life. And it's nice to be able to
trying to handle the whole homeschooling thing on top of everything else you have to do at home right now, like that. My wife and I don't have kids yet. We have a dog, which I know will make any parent mad when you compare the two. So we don't have anywhere close to that responsibility, which is for right now a great thing. Like we have friends that have kids and they've already, although it's against recommendation, they've left their kids at their parents' house and just showed up here and, disappeared into our basement just to get away from each other. So,
yeah, no such luck here. I think we put a like a shopping order into Kroger, like an online Kroger order in Toledo, because we could get that a lot sooner than we could get it anywhere around me. And that was the first time, I think, other than one walk around the neighborhood, that was like the only time I've left my house in the past like 2 weeks.
I made a trip to the grocery store on Monday just to get a couple, bread and stuff like that. more beer. We're running out of the beer that my wife likes, so I had to get more of that. And it's weird, man. It's a very eerie feeling inside a grocery store right now, which I never thought that would happen either. But it does not feel like your average trip just to go pick up, a couple regular things that you never think about on a regular basis. So,
yeah, we drove by the airport. I used to live by the airport like way back, and I remember, you get used to the noise and all the stuff from all the planes flying over all the time and landing nearby. And when we drove by it just a couple days ago, it was so weird because we saw like 4 or 5 planes land, maybe in the stretch of time that we could see planes coming in and driving by it. And normally you would see twice as many planes just in like a holding pattern waiting to land. And I think like a couple of the planes were freight, like one was a FedEx plane. They weren't all passenger planes. So
yeah, we're right by the airport in Waterford. We're literally less than a mile away from that. And there's been maybe 1 or 2 planes a day that fly over our house as opposed to like 30 normally. So yeah, it's definitely slowed down.
So hitting up the chat again, asked how everybody was filling up their time. Rob says he's watched the current complete chronological order of the Marvel Universe. Not a bad way to spend your time. Fabian says he picked up meditation yoga and incorporating 5 to 7 minute workouts. Hey, that's not a bad idea. That's probably pretty good. I could probably incorporate a lot more workouts. I've been thinking about picking up running again, but it's much easier thought than done. And we got Dave saying he's got a residential window cleaning company for last 29 years, and they are shut down. Yeah, no work. And Michael says Toledo, Ohio, not Toledo, Spain. Not this time. But yeah, Toledo. Oh, yes, Toledo. Oh, indeed.
Make beer runs to Toledo. It's not that bad a trip. So
no, it's not that. When you're a kid, it sucks because it feels. It's only an hour roughly from hour and a half. From here to Novi, basically, maybe a little bit more north. But as you get older, you don't even notice that it's taking that long.
I find I find pit stops to make along the way that make it worthwhile too. So
yeah, that doesn't hurt. So I'm going to ask everybody watching. I was telling John before we started here that I've got a good selection here of kind of heavy beers. I was talking about on the poll that I put on YouTube. I said, should I do old stuff, cellared raid kind of stuff, new beer exclusively, or a little bit of both? The poll ended up being about, I think it was 53% of a mix. So new and old. 42% were cellar raid, and like 5%, whatever the math is between the two of those things. The rest of the percents were new stuff. So I have a good mix here, and I think what I'm going to ask you guys, I know I'm not done with this one yet, but should we go with something heavy like a stout? Whoa, I'm going to slide off my chair here. Heavy like a stout. I have a Lagunitas Willetized 2017, or I've got this rare little beauty here. I've got a Bell's Eccentric Ale. What do you think, John? What should we go with?
What year is the Eccentric Ale?
That's this year.
That's this year? I would go with that. I've had Willetized, so.
Yeah. This, a guy in line at Ascension for Gorilla Juice Day, his name was Dustin. I didn't catch his last name. He was in line, and Tyler, who is Review the Brew in the chat, he and I, this guy, Dustin, gave us this, and he was like, yeah, you should try this. I was like, okay. It says Eccentric Ale 2018 on the label there. If you can, I don't know if you can see that. Right under, it says 2018 right above my finger, but this actually, the date on the back is December 2nd, 2019, right here-ish.
Well, the stuff they do for Eccentric Day is always worth checking out. And really, I mean, Bell's make a bad beer. So,
yeah. Okay, so everybody here in the, Pete Johnson, he's drinking a peanut butter Higher Branch from Higher Branch Brewing. Jeez, if I could read. Rob says Bell's. Fabian says, a 12 KBS, 2012. What do you think? What do you think about that, John? How long do you think a KBS can last before it kind of loses its shine?
I would expect a 2012 KBS to still be perfectly drinkable and good. You're probably not going to get that much heat off of it anymore. I just opened a 2015 bottle of Narwhal last week going into the cellar, and it lost almost all the barrel off of it. So I would expect that's probably what you would get out of the KBS. But as long as you stored it right, it should still be really rich and probably thicker than what it was before. Certainly thicker than it is now. Probably still a really enjoyable beer.
I'm still trying to get if I ever feel courageous enough to venture out to a store without my hazmat suit, I still want to pick up this year's KBS because I have now, I think I have a 2017, 18, 19, and a 20. I'd like to see how they all kind of compare against each other.
I think I have a 2015 and a 2016. I'd have to go downstairs and look. I don't remember what years it is. I know I got backwoods going back to like 2013. For whatever reason, I just bought like a ridiculous amount of that for years on end. But I think the oldest KBS I still have is probably 2015 right now.
I found an old backwoods that I don't know the year because they didn't have a year printed on it, and it was before they started doing the foil embossing. So I think it's about maybe a 12 or a 13, maybe.
Before they put them on the label, they would stamp a date on the bottle, so it should have like usually a white letter date that has at least a year on it. Should be in November.
I didn't see that. The only thing I saw printed on the bottle was like a batch number, and it was on. I think it was on the bottom. It wasn't like on the side or anything. It was just straight like on the bottom of the bottle. And I was looking for it. It was. I don't even know when I bought it. I remember what I bought my first 4-pack of Backwoods, maybe like 2011, or I don't know when they started doing it, but it was probably within like the first 2 or 3 years that they started releasing it.
I'm not crazy about the current version of it, but it for a long time was one of my favorite annual releases. I had nothing against what they've chosen to do with it. It's just not for me right now.
Yeah, I didn't. I think when they started going year round is when I noticed that I wasn't enjoying it as much.
Yeah, and I mean, again, it's still a good beer. It's just not the same thing that's so unique as far as what it was when it was annual. Maybe it's because, when you can't have it for, 10 out of the 12 months of the year, it makes you kind of want it more. So maybe it's just in your head. But I thought it came out like the last time I had it, it was just a lot thinner. It didn't really have any. You almost want a good Scottish ale like that to chew back at you a little bit, and I got none of that off of it. So,
yeah, well, it is what it is. That's why I'm really kind of curious about this year's KBS. Last year, what went year round last year? Was last year Backwoods? Is that what went year round?
I thought Backwoods was a year before that. I didn't think they switched one to year round as far as the barrel age things. I mean, you could find KBS all year. I'm sure you could still find last year's KBS without too much of an issue. I don't know. They had a weird year last year. I still want to get back down to the Detroit tap room if it ever stays open for more than a week. So,
yeah, they've kind of had a bit of a rough go with all the controversy and then all this COVID-19 stuff.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to stay open with all that. So I'm just kind of worried with worried, but worried. Yeah.
I'm not worried with them because I think they got the money, they got the backing that they'll be open as long as they want to be open. I'm far more concerned about places like Batch that have already closed up that, are going to run, I would assume, on a much tighter margin, or some of these, the places that I really like are the places that have a pretty good reputation, but they're not exactly huge at the same time.
Right.
Those are the ones that I'm far more worried about than a place like Founders. So.
Yeah, same here. I'm just, not to tie it together with Founders, but worried that a lot of these places are going to, depending on how long this goes, maybe we're looking at early summer, and that's several months. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens, I guess.
Yeah, I would, there's still part of me that thinks that at some point people are going to start worrying more about the economy than their health, for better or worse. I just think that's human nature. And especially since it, I don't know how much you're watching the news. I only watch it about once a day at this point, just to kind of, but, we're really at a point now where we're not learning anything except how many people have gotten sick or died. So, at some point I would think human nature is going to say, look, we can't stay in our house forever, but maybe I'm wrong.
Not to change the subject.
Yeah, probably a good idea.
But I didn't even talk about this beer from Ascension. So this was, where did I put the can? Oh, right here. Okay, so this was Crispy Department. This is advertised as a double dry hopped Kolsch. And I've had this, I got a 4-pack of this. This is the third can now that I've drank. And I usually, if I do a review, it's like a first impression kind of thing. But this is really, I know that you said you had Hot Dog Brain, which is their other Kolsch that they did. This was really more like a pale ale almost. It didn't have a whole lot of Kolschiness. It had a little bit of like a honey crisp, like sweetness to it, but a lot of it was just, it tasted more like a pale than anything else.
It's not a bad thing. I personally, I like when they go out of their comfort zone and do something other than a hazy or something other than a sour. I think they're great at doing those. I'm not trying to knock those, but when they kind of move out of that and do things that are a little bit different, I don't know. I think they just hit home runs kind of time after time.
All right, let's go into the chat. We'll kind of catch up here. Jose says, greeting from downriver. He's in Woodhaven. Breakfast stout. Hope we're staying. Hey, Jose, hopefully you're staying safe too. Michael Krosnick says he thinks KBS is better than BCS. I've never had, this might be a shocker, it might not. I have never had Bourbon County Stout. I have a couple bottles, and they're from a couple years ago when I think I got gouged when I bought them, and I just have been sitting on them forever. That's maybe not too surprising, but
it's good. It's kind of got the same thing as KBS, that it's from a different era where there weren't a lot of beers like that, and now if you don't have like the nostalgia behind it, you might kind of get in and think like a Gorilla Juice or something like that just blows out of the water because it's got so much more. But that being said, I haven't had a Bourbon County Stout in probably 2-3 years. Just haven't bought one.
Yeah, I just haven't felt like chasing it.
Yeah.
Pete Johnston says that they just got KBS in North Carolina. Grusha says he had a 2016 Devil Dog the other day and it mellowed out quite considerably. It was very smooth and creamy. Before, I think it was pretty heavy roastiness and bitter. I really like Devil Dog, but the French toast. Have you had French toast Devil Dog?
Yeah, I tried it in their tap room and I tried it alongside the barrel one. They're all right, so I have no complaint with either of them.
I like the regular French toast a lot better than the barrel one. I just wasn't super impressed with it wasn't that much different, or it was more. If I remember correctly, it was more bourbon.
See, I didn't even get that off of it, but maybe I'm a bourbon snob. I don't know.
Maybe. Maybe. I don't know. You probably drink a lot more than I do. Fabian, he says 19 CBS was top notch. I did like 19 much more than 18. I skipped one, but Tyler, Review the Brew says, John, are you getting No Rules tomorrow? Are you going to order any tomorrow?
No, I would like to, but no, I'm staying home. So
we'll do a close up.
I'm working tomorrow. I don't have time to get in there and get in line for it. So I might. Usually, I've had luck finding that in their tap room a couple months after the fact. So I might make a trip out there later in the year, see if I get lucky.
Yeah, I don't like the. If they did delivery, it would be a no-brainer for me. But I know that they can't. But it'd be nice if you could order it online and they could ship it to you, rather than having to go there and pick it up. So this is Eccentric Ale, 2019's Eccentric Ale, a gun. Again, this is from Dustin and the line from Gorilla Juice Day at Ascension. And we're going to pour this one. That is a lot darker than I was expecting it to be.
They usually pull No Rules out for the Beer Fest too. So as long as that's not canceled, that should be available in summer too.
Oof, it smells like that's big. Have you had this one, 2019's?
I have not.
It's really sweet, like really caramel, kind of rich smelling. And then going back to chat, the real Dr. Bigfoot says, what breweries do you guys know that are doing delivery currently?
I know Ascension is. I know Brew Detroit was, but I think it was super local where they were doing it. I don't think they're doing it regularly. Who else have I seen doing that? I want to say Arbor was offering it. I'd have to look it up to double check to be sure. I think they were doing it out of each one of their 3 tap rooms. Who else was doing it?
Good God. This is interesting.
I know you can get a lot of beer delivered from stores right now, like local liquor stores and that are doing it too. So even if the brewery's not doing it directly, a lot of times you might be able to catch stuff from local vendors. Like I know a party store near us, Annie's, is doing it right now. And I think Ship It or whatever the service is that Myers uses, they're allowing you to ship alcohol or pick up alcohol right now through delivery also.
Do you know if Instacart will deliver?
I'm not sure about Instacart. Haven't tried that one. I've only heard it from other people about Shipt. Probably find out.
I heard that North Center in Northville was doing limited delivery, I think. With Ascension, they started at a 20-mile radius, and they sold out really quickly. And I think they realized that 20 miles from their location was kind of a little tough to continue to do. So I think the next time they had minimums. So you had to buy so many items, within 5 miles, you could do like 2 items. And then I think, and I don't know if like a 4-pack counted as an item. I think then like 3 items for 15 miles, 4 items for that 20 miles again. So it gets kind of cost prohibitive to keep increasing. There was somebody else I thought that was doing delivery. Of course, like I said earlier, Tavor. I have to always remember how to say that because it's like carnivore. Tavor is doing delivery, but you got to wait until they ship it to you. So, and then you got to sign for it. So they're doing that too.
I don't think they signed last time they dropped off something for me, but that's okay. So
yeah, the guy beat down my door. He was like, "You need to sign for this." Like, okay, all right. So let's talk about this eccentric ale. This is, I'll read off the label here. It says, ale brewed with coriander, caraway, ginger, juniper berries, maple syrup, brown sugar, candy syrup, honey, wakame seaweed, shiitake mushrooms, and Thai basil. I get a lot of ginger. I get the maple syrup. I get the brown sugar. But the ginger, and I do get like coriander and caraway, but the ginger is like so strong in this. And I heard a lot that you get a lot of like umami from the shiitake mushroom that's in this, but I'm not really getting so much of that.
Sounds like a kitchen sink beer.
Oh yeah. I had heard stories, like I went to college at Western and Bell's was local, but it was way before I was even thinking about drinking craft beer. And I had heard that like back in the day for Eccentric Day that you could bring, your old shoes and throw them in, just, crazy stuff, which I'm sure they didn't let you do, but that they would brew this eccentric ale with like the nuttiest stuff that they could find. So I know they don't do that now, if they even did that then, but it was always these really high, big, like Bill Brasky kind of rumors about the stuff that they would do. It's just nuts.
What could go wrong if you just let people throw things in a boil? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Hey, put your underwear in there. I'm sure that'll be fine.
See what happens.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, this is very interesting. I will drink all of it, but this is maybe I won't. This is 11.3%. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to drink all of this. It's not awful, but I think it's one of those things where you have to kind of be in the mood.
Did you ever try Neptune out of their Planet series when that was around?
No, the only planet one I ever got a chance to try was Mars, and that was when they re-released it. The original run, I wasn't really buying beer at that point. That was like in my dead zone.
I'll have to pull one out for you at some point. I think I still got a bottle of Saturn too, but there was so much. That beer was so crazy and had so. It was like that. They had like a list a mile long of what they threw in it.
Yeah.
And remember when I opened it the first time, I didn't even know what to think of it, but I kind of have made a point of opening one about once a year just to kind of see it. And it's crazy how much that beer changes from year to year. And I'm sure that would do pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, it was kind of be nice to hang on to this forever, but you know, you can't hang on to everything forever. Unfortunately, I think like if I look around, I've got, you know, I have like a Trader Joe's. You know, Trader Joe's does those yearly bottles, those vintages that they do. I have one in my fridge from like 2012 or something that at some point I'll need to crack open. All right, let's go back into the chat and we will go start with Wes Vesper. He says he agrees French Toast Devil Dog is the shiz. And he says that, John, you're crazy because you don't like it. We got Dave saying, now I'm drinking triple IPA from Magnifying Brewing in New Jersey called Sorry, Not Sorry. Grusha6 says he really likes both French Devil Dog and the BBA version. Pete Johnston is in North Carolina. He says our breweries are doing home deliveries. And Rob agrees with you. Neptune and Mars was awesome. So we're talking about beer. We've been talking about beer. We're talking about, you know, what everybody's been up to with this crazy, never before seen in our lifetime situation of, you know, social distancing and all that super awesome, good time, fun stuff that we've been dealing with. And, you know, like I said, just kind of reiterate, this is about, you know, just kind of forgetting about all that stuff, talking about other stuff, talking about TV shows. Maybe we'll get into TV shows that we've been watching and movies that maybe we've seen or I know I've been playing a lot of video games, but first off, we need to know what you drinking. Let us know in the chat if you have been drinking anything different than you were drinking last time we talked about it, which was about half an hour ago. We've been on for 32 minutes. We should do a stream.
So
what's that?
I'm about to go grab something here. I'm down to a sip. So
we need to do a stream where we just stream for charity. 24 hours. We just drink beer and talk about it.
That gets sloppy by the end of it, but I'm up for it. So
I think we'd be sloppy by like an hour and a half into it.
Quite possibly.
That might be a nightmare.
So
might be a lot of watching us sleep on stream.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah. All right, so let's go. John, you grab your beer. I'll read through the chat here. So all right. So everybody in chat, what have you been consuming, you know, other than beer? What kind of media? Have you been watching a lot of shows? You've been watching movies? You've been playing any games? Been playing board games, card games, tiddlywinks, marbles? Have you been kicking the can, or you've been, you know, hooping, stick and hoop, or whatever that is, where you chase it down the street and you hit it? If you've even been able to go outside, let us know in the chat. But we'll kind of go through the chat here. Michael Krosnick has a good question, and I'm going to hold onto it till John gets back. Tyler says he's been watching Tiger King. That's the topic du jour. I was at a birthday party earlier today. We sat outside on lawn chairs and had takeout food. And that Tiger King was a strong topic of conversation. I've only seen the first couple episodes. I haven't seen all of it, but I'm aware of the situation. I know what Tiger King's about. And he also says he's still sipping on that gin and juice, right? GJ, that stands for gin and juice, or Gorilla Juice. The real Dr. Bigfoot says,
fantastic.
Yeah.
It is just amazing.
The real Dr. Bigfoot corrected Griffin Claw Hard Seltzer, peach flavor. Hey, no judgment. That's one I want to try because I've talked to the people at Griffin Claw. They said that they make that with is it sucralose? It's not a malt beverage. It's not made with malt. It's made with actual sugar, like some kind of sugar substance. Pete also says he's been watching Tiger King. Dave Back to Delivery says a lot of his breweries are delivering, but they're selling out. Yes, selling out, and it's hard. It is tough to get the beer. Rob says he's playing a lot of COD, Call of Duty on Xbox One and PC. Rob, we'll have to talk later. I've been playing a lot on PC. Maybe we can do some cross-platform. Let's go back up now, John, that you're back. Michael Krosnick had a good question. He says, can we comment on how Dragon's Milk has changed the market? Now it's just a normal beer. And that's true. I mean, you know, Dragon's Milk used to be like, it's always been kind of a mainstay, but it's really like you can find it everywhere now.
I think actually, and I used to drink a lot more Dragon's Milk just because it was one of those beers that you look for.
Yeah.
But I think what they've done with that beer, and this is going to go kind of contrary to what we're talking about with KBS, is I think they found a way to prove that you can have a barrel aged beer like that available year round and still have it be of a high quality. It's changed over the years, sure, but outside of some of the variants, like that raspberry lemonade one did nothing for me. But like the standard Dragon's Milk and the majority of the variants, I can't think of one that I've been glad to at least try each one that they've had.
Yeah, I think that I agree with you on some of that. I also think that I think Dragon's Milk itself, like just the base standard Dragon's Milk, has been really solid. It's been really consistent. Whenever you buy it, it's one of those things which is great that you buy a Dragon's Milk, a regular variant of Dragon's Milk, and you know what you're going to get. It's super consistent. It's almost always the same from bottle to bottle, batch to batch, year to year, over and over. But I find that the reserves, I like that they do the reserves. I feel like they've been going after this variant system, and on a regular basis, first it was like 2 a year, 3 a year. Now it's getting to like be 3, 4, maybe 5 a year. I think that's awesome. But I think that the heaviness of Dragon's Milk, whenever they do these reserves, becomes so light. Like the big complaint that I would have against these is that the mouthfeel is just so like thin. And I realize, doing barrel aging this stuff might thin that out a little bit, but it just seems like they've been getting thinner and thinner. Like even triple mash, I'd only had it last year's version, but it just seemed like overly thin. I know it was really high ABV. It was like 17% or whatever, but it just seemed really just too thin almost.
What's cool about it, though, if you think about what a lot of breweries do for their big events, like I'll use Witch's Hat as an example. I mean, most of what Fury is variants of tracks, one way or another. And I mean, say what you want about that. I mean, I like them, but they New Holland's found a way to kind of take that experience minus the social aspect and bottle it. And like any time that you put something, if you put something in a barrel or you make a variant, you're running the risk of it being different from what people expect. So that should be expected to an extent. But again, more often than not, I've enjoyed the variants that I've tried of theirs, and the ones that I haven't enjoyed, I kind of look at them like, why did I buy this in the first place?
Is it like a thing where you realize you probably wouldn't like it before you bought it?
Yeah, like I said, the raspberry lemonade one just was not for me in any way, shape,
the hibiscus.
I didn't try that. I don't think I had that one. So the hibiscus one, but I mean the stuff like the oatmeal cookie one, I dug.
Yeah,
oatmeal cookies. Anytime that you put coffee and chocolate in a beer, I'm probably going to like it. So there's things they can do consistently that it's right in that flavor palette. I would like for them to re-release the vanilla chai latte one, not to drink it fresh, but if you get I had one that found its way to the back of the cellar, and I pulled it out like 4 years later, and it was amazing. So, stuff like that, I dig it. So I think they're doing more good with it than bad.
I think almost every variant, like reserve, I have at least one bottle since Mocha Mint, I think. So whenever that 2.5 years ago, I was kind of going through and looking at all the different caps I have that have the dragon on the top, or what they used to be. I forgot what they were before, just the New Holland kind of symbol. But yeah, I've been going through my stuff and seeing just a lot of stuff. So let's go back to the chat here. Dave says, luckily his neighborhood's pretty flat. He gets to go jogging, and they have a Bowflex, so they can use it when the gyms are closed. I have a treadmill. It has a lot of space for hanging clothes on it. No, I'm kidding. It's down, but it's just for walking right now. I messed up my Achilles, so. Rob says triple mash was fantastic a few years back. The coconut rum barrel was great too, but lately he doesn't think that they're truly barrel aged. He thinks they're fermenting with chips. And maybe,
yeah.
We'll move on. Let's see. Grusha says he's excited for the grapefruit variant of Masagave and more of the regular stuff. He still has a few bottles of it left. Yeah, a few bottles. I'm not drunk, I promise. A few bottles left from last year. I was going through I was kind of looking at stuff, cellar stuff, fresh stuff, and what my singular bottle of Masagave is hanging around here somewhere, but I want to hang on to that to see it against the new one, the grapefruit one. West Vesper says, how do you feel about Dick Smasher? John, have you had Dick Smasher this year?
I have Dick Smasher every year. I love that beer.
Yeah.
That beer, so if you can catch it in the rye, especially, Dick Smasher in the rye, one has got a great name. But that beer is probably in my top 5 stouts that you can get in Michigan. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I hadn't had it before. I know last year they did something around the release. They did a shirt. And my brother-in-law works down in Detroit, and I was like, hey, man, you got to stop by Batch and get me this shirt. You got to get me a Dick Smasher. He never did, but I was like, you got to get me that Dick Smasher shirt because that's pretty cool. And I just thought from the name that it would be an IPA. Like, I didn't know really anything about it. And I ended up seeing it on shelves around here. And when I did the review, I found it, and I was totally just surprised that it wasn't an IPA, that it was a stout. But yeah, I thought that's probably, for me, one of... the year's pretty young, but it's probably one of my favorite stouts, at least, so far that I've had. I was looking over my fridge, getting all this stuff ready. And that was one that I was like, I don't want to break out the Dick Smasher just yet. I want to hang on to it if I'm not able to find it sitting around.
So their 10 at Beer Fest always goes super quick, which we experienced that last year. But if you can catch it when they tap it, that's one of the few lines that's worth getting in. So
yeah. I'll move on to B Wood. He says, any Rockford Brewing beer? I have family that lives in Rockford. I haven't had their stuff lately. And I did pick up a bottle of Hop Lust. I think that's their IPA. I think it's called Hop Lust. And I just never got around to it, but I have the bottle somewhere. And they do another one. They have a beer that they do that the label is like really similar to BlackRock's label. Like Rockford does, they do a River Rouge Brown? Is that Rockford? Does that sound familiar to you?
I don't remember. To be honest, I'm not that familiar with them.
They have that one. I think it looks just like My Kiss. Like My Kiss IPA has like the rainbow trout, like the scales on the side of the trout. It has like that gradient from the colors. Yeah. When I think about beer, a lot of the times I think about the label that's, that the beer's in. That's how I like relate like what it is. So that's why I talk about the label so much on stuff. But I think it's Rouge River Brown I think it's Rockford that does that. And it's almost exactly like the, like My Kiss IPA. It's kind of eerily similar. Let's go down. We say... Tyler says he has some Mocha Mint left. He's leery of the flavors. If the flavors fell off, I had my Mocha Mint, one of the Mocha Mints that I have. I had it a few months back, maybe like 3 or 4 months, just like, I really remember loving this beer. And I had it and I couldn't do it. It was too I think it was either too minty. There was like no chocolate anymore. It was like just super mint, like almost Pine Sol mint.
Mint's not really a flavor I like in beer personally. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't be able to vouch on that one either way.
Pete asks, are they going to still make the regular Masagave? I don't think they are this year. I think it's like it's not part of the barrel age. What's that?
I thought I saw that they were doing the regular Masagave and the grapefruit's supposed to be a variant, but could be wrong.
That'd be nice. I'd like to see him do both side by side, so you can experience them if you didn't get it last time, or see how they are side by side. Grusha says, I had a Mascave the other day. I do think the flavors changed. He doesn't really remember the details. That one to me was like margarita. What's that?
Tequila can do that. Make you forget details.
Yeah. I just thought that tasted like a margarita in a beer, like the closest thing you can get to a margarita in a beer, like almost a mixed margarita that you just pour with like a little bit of that kind of beer quality.
By the way, I went on to a nice Vienna lager. So
I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
You're all about the lagers.
Well, like I said, I got to work in the morning, so I can't get too
Right.
So
Too sloshed.
and I do
And
like lagers, so I think like I said, I know that's not the most popular thing, but I love them. So
it seems like that's what the brewers' favorites are, lagers at this point.
So what I've always been told that the Pilsner is the brewer's beer because it's a beer that you can't hide any imperfections in.
Yeah.
At least that's what I've always been taught with it. It is definitely a style that you can tell the difference between a well-made Pilsner and a poorly made Pilsner immediately when you try one. Lagers, I personally love a good Vienna lager because it's almost like a lighter version of amber ale. It's got all those roasty characteristics, and truthfully, not a lot of places do them, so you can't get them all the time. And Old Nation just nails this one. So, one that I'll pick up anytime that I see it.
I'm surreptitiously, sneakily grabbing my next beer choice that I'm going to let the guys in the audience, or the ladies, if there are any ladies. I doubt it, but if there are, they'll get equal say. Because I don't think this, it's like one of those things where the first drink is really the most impressionable, or the one that like really hits you the hardest. And then for me, it's subsequent drinks. You kind of just get used to it. And it's kind of like, oh, I'm just drinking whatever it is. You kind of forget all the different nuance that went into the flavor. So what I have, drum roll, please. I'm going to go to single view, John. We can still hear John, hopefully. This is...
All right, that's enough of that.
Oh, that's your drum roll. Nice. I was like, what the hell is he doing? This is a brown ale that I brewed 10 years ago.
Ooh.
Yeah. My first ever beer that I brewed, Brewer's Best, labels the B. First beer ever brewed. And then I have this Ascension. This is a tactile sensation. This is a papaya milkshake IPA with vanilla and lactose, double dry hopped with Citra and Mosaic hops. Brewed and packaged by Ascension Brewing Company in Novi, Michigan, 7% alcohol by volume. And got to do a shout out to my buddy Greg Willett, who did the design on this. You can find him at Greg Willett, Greg_Willett, or dubbeddesign.com. So I'm going to let you guys pick which one we go with. Going to go back to the regular view here. This will be your selection. A brown ale. I think this is a brown ale. If it's not a brown ale, it's a Maibach, which is a very ambitious beer.
Another style that doesn't get enough credit. Love a good
Yeah, that's kind of why I picked this. When I picked the recipe, I was like, Maibach, nobody ever does that. I've done 2 brews at this point. This would be my Maibach. So
I didn't realize you were into home brewing.
I was like a long ass time ago. Like that was, I was like, I'm going to get into brewing. And then I made, a full 5-gallon batch and 2 cases of beer. And there was all this other stuff coming out 10 years ago. And I was like, I'm never going to be able to drink all this. And I gave it to people. There'd be people on the side of the road holding need help. And I would give them a 6-pack. Please take this. I don't need this anymore in my house.
I made one batch of beer and my wife got pissed about how many bottles were just sitting around the house that I was like, oh, you got to let them sit for a while. And she's like,
yeah.
She's like, you got enough beer around here without you making your own. So.
I get told a lot that I should just open a beer store in this time because I just have so much stuff. All right, so I'm going to set this eccentric ale to the side. Oh, my stomach hurts. Tough. All right, let's go back into the chat real quick. We'll see what people are saying here. Real Dr. Bigfoot was giving you some props, John, I think. Tyler says that Old Nation's lagers they're really good. I really enjoy their lagers quite a bit. She says, speaking of mint, he had Roke's mint milkshake. That just came out, right? That was like Valentine's Day, St. Patrick's Day, roughly ish. Like that was just a couple weeks ago. It feels like 6 years ago at this point. I hadn't had that though. That's one that I wanted to have. Real Dr. Bigfoot, newest of Bell's Leaves of Grass series, is a rustic lager. Have you had that one yet?
I haven't. I suspect that it's probably sitting at my brother-in-law's house. He lives about a mile away from Bell's, and he picks stuff up for me all the time from there. But I'm aware of it, and I definitely want to get my hands on it. So
Yeah, I think I saw a few places posting that right before all this craziness started going down,
right.
and I just didn't get to it. So
I would love to take a pleasure drive out to Bell's just for the hell of it right now, but it's probably not the time to do it.
right, maybe wait a little bit. Rob says, "Let's see that brown." His first homebrew was a brown. This is going to be. I don't know if this is a brown. It kind of looks brown-ish. This is like, last of a dying breed, because I think this is literally the last bottle that I have.
Mystery beer is always the best beer.
Pete says, "Do the brown." Tyler says, "Probably both." Grusha says he wants to see both. Well, we'll do one after the other. What are we going to do first? B. Wood says brown for sure. Rob says homebrewing wasn't cost effective. Yeah, it's true. 10 batches and haven't done it in a while. Same here. I would like to get back into it, but I'd like to do like 1 gallon batches where it's, you get like a 12 pack or whatever out of it. And that's, then your obligation's done with it. So I'm going to crack this mystery beer. I don't quite know what it is, but we'll find out soon enough. Let me put this one back in my little cooler here. Still feeling okay. Not feeling too many ill effects.
You haven't gone to Centric yet?
What's that?
You haven't gone to Centric
I haven't.
yet?
I'm still regular old me. So I'm going to use what kind of glass is this?
Looks like a Belgian sniffer.
Okay, that's what I thought. That's what I always say, and then when I edit, like go back through the video and I say, yeah, I got this Belgian glass, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute.
I'm not the guy that worries that much about glasses. I put almost everything in the tulip when I really want to get into it, and I mean, half the time I'm drinking out of a mason jar. So I'm using a pint glass now, which is supposedly the worst type of glass to use for beer. So it makes a difference, but it's not like the end all be all. So
yeah, I just like the Tiku for everything. If I could just do Tiku, I mean, it's just it's a nice looking glass. You feel classy drinking that. I should put this into a Tiku. Grusha says first homebrew was a Northern English brown and 1 gallon batches. I feel like I need to just go back to 1 gallon. All right, let's go ahead and open this. Moment of truth. Oh my God, this is like rock hard. Okay, got it. Let's go close up here. We'll see.
I'm hoping this comes out like red or something, so that it just totally throws you.
Yeah.
I remember making a sour ale.
It's all oxidized. This tastes like metal. All right, let's see this. It's a little bit too high, but let's see. Does that look like a brown to you? Looks like a brown to me.
Brown.
It's got a nice caramel colored kind of color to it. Hey, they say like age, it kind of mellows out all these beers. So maybe this will be like the best beer I've ever had. I doubt it. All right, let's go back to the double. We'll go back to the regular camera. And then we'll go back one more time to say, well, not one more time for right now. It's been about 20 minutes. I got to ask if I can figure out which button it is. What you drinking? If you've changed beers, if you've moved on to something else, let us know in the chat. Any other questions? I'll open up Q&A. We'll probably talk about some other kind of assorted BS, but if you have any other Q&A, any other kind of questions in the chat for John or myself, if you're just joining or if you've been on for a short amount of time and you haven't seen this little thing here, the titles, Sean from Draft Therapy, we got, right there. We got John. There we go. John from sombeer.com. We'll leave that up for a few. I'm delaying the inevitable here.
So question for you, because I don't think I've seen you review one of these, or if I have, I don't remember it. What's your opinion on barley wine?
I don't think I've done a barley wine yet. Okay. I have. Is Straight Jackets a barley wine, right, from Revolution?
I believe so.
I have a couple cans of that, and I've been really wanting to, but also it's one of those things where you're kind of scared, could be like way out of your league.
Well, see, I have a love-hate relationship with it. It's one of those I either love them or I hate them. I opened my cellar raid yesterday was a can of gnomes from Black Rocks. I'm still trying to figure out what I felt about it. It was a 5-year-old can, so maybe that had something to do with it. But I didn't like it at all when I started drinking it. By the time I got halfway through it, I'm like, actually, this isn't half bad. I don't know if that was the booze that was in it.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, there's some of them that come to mind that are just amazing, like Well Water or, Bigfoot after certain years, Third Coast.
Yeah.
The thing that's weird about them is barley wine's an investment. You're like, I can't think of one that I've ever had fresh that is marginally better than what it is after probably 5 years on. So,
yeah, I think I had Bigfoot, but I made the mistake of not knowing I was supposed to age it. And I was like, oh, I like Sierra Nevada. This was years and years ago. I like Sierra Nevada. I'm going to try this. And I had a Bigfoot and I had it like immediately after I bought it. And I was like, wow, this is not what I was expecting at all. It was a little tough, but I'm sure after some time it'll be fine. So I'm smelling in this. It smells really, it's got like a barley kind of smell to it and also like a dog food smell to it. So I don't know if that's a good thing. Let's try it out here. If I don't just spit it out immediately, we'll say it's maybe drinkable. Yeah, it's not great. It's not great. It's got like that. I just brewed a homebrew. This is my first homebrew, and it's aged 10 years, and it didn't get much better. It kind of has that flavor to it.
Some nice notes of Alpo, maybe Purina.
Yeah, it's just kind of, it's almost borderline like minty. Like it's got like a minty kind of characteristic to it.
Not what I would
really weird.
You say?
No. It's got that cardboard kind of taste to it. It's got like a deeply brined cardboard flavor. So that's good. That's high marks across the board.
Kind of jealous I'm not there to try that. So
I don't know. It's kind of going to be the death of me, I think. At least it's probably like 4%. It's probably not anything great. All right, let's go back to the chat. We left off with Grusha saying that he has done 1 gallon batches. Michael Krosnick is drinking a BCS. B. Wood is drinking a Cinegram from Pigeon Hill, also known as your grandmother on French toast. They changed that this name.
I need to get out to that brewery. I still haven't. I like a lot of their stuff and haven't checked them out like in their tap room yet.
Yeah, there was one that they did that salted caramel porter. When I had it at one of the beer fests, that it's like one of their regular beers. I think it's a seasonal, but it's a regular beer from them, and it really like blew my mind at how good that was. Like it's just a regular, straight up, everyday beer that you can get from them. I was really
big fan of oatmeal cream pie from them. That was good.
Not a fan of the labels, but I am a fan of their beer. Michael Krosnick, he drank all his KVS, so he went to BCS. He did say BCS was less than KVS earlier. West Vesper says, scored a Pliny the Elder. Nice. Have you had Pliny?
Have not. Hasn't made its way to me yet, or I haven't made my way to it.
That's one of those beers where you talk to somebody like, oh, I'm going out to California. Is there any beer you want? And you're like, maybe get me a Pliny. And they're like, oh, I'll get you a Pliny. And never get the Pliny.
I almost feel like it's built up too much in my head at this point. Like if I have it, like I don't know if I'm going to be able to have it live up to its expectations I've set for it. So I'm kind of scared to try it, but I'm sure.
That's kind of like,
sure, whenever I get around to it, it will probably be amazing. So
that's kind of like for me. That's like Heady Topper's kind of like that.
I've had that one. That was pretty solid.
Yeah, I've heard so many great things about it, and then it's like one of those things where you hear it's hype. Hype is the beer killer. You hear so much about it that by the time you get a chance to try it, you're just kind of like, okay, this is good.
Right.
I don't know. All right, so let's see. French Toast Devil Dog. Tyler, report back in. Let us know how this one was from 2018. Pete is drinking the Rusty Nail from Fremont. I've seen a lot on Tavour, rhymes with carnivore. I've seen a lot of Fremont stuff on Tavour lately. Rob says, I'm hoping to see Dragon Mead Armageddon Grand Cru released again too. You've been talking it up so much, I'd need to try it. I do have requited from Batch. I think I have 2 bottles of that, which is their Grand Cru from a couple years ago. And I have Avery, a couple Avery Grand Crus, which I don't remember the name, but they say something about aging at 10 years. And I kind of feel like maybe I should just age at 10 years because that's what they say to do.
It worked for those stone beers that they did those enjoy after ones. So I tried one fresh like an idiot. I was probably drunk when I opened it. The other one I kept for the like however many years it was, night and day difference. So
it's not an enjoy by, it was an enjoy after.
Yeah.
Okay. What style were those?
It's a brute IPA, which I don't
okay.
usually like brutes to begin with, but that champagne yeast doesn't really do, I don't know, it gives it a different characteristic that I'm not huge on. But
that's a misconception, John. It's not champagne yeast.
Whatever. So
it's an enzyme. I saw on Facebook that Travis from Old Nation, I think it was Travis, was talking about something about, was it, or maybe it was somebody from Oddside. I thought it was Travis, so I could be wrong. Was saying something about like just kind of in passing that it's a misconception or a myth that it's a champagne yeast, and I thought it was a champagne yeast forever. And then a friend of mine that's into that he's an assistant at Rake. He was like, yeah, it's not champagne yeast. And I was like, oh. And Oddside commented, they were like, yeah, it's not champagne yeast. I was like, oh, okay, sorry.
See, I learned something now.
I'll just sit in my corner and shut up. A lot of Roke. B. Wood says, I wonder when the barrel-aged version of French Toast Devil Dog will be released. I haven't seen a French Toast Devil Dog, a recent one, like that. Or maybe I think they just like re-released a batch because I noticed that video got a lot of views, or it had a little spurt of activity at some point.
Within the time I saw it was in September, but it was in their tap room. I don't know when it was in bottles. So
yeah, I think in their tap room they almost always have that because I think that's becoming like a mainstay of their stuff. We got Wisco Boater, aka Chad, aka Chadzilla. He says, "Hey Sean, hey Chad, how are you?" Tyler says, "If you're an old school mindset of Two-Hearted American IPA, Pliny is top tier."
Okay, so I'd probably like that. So.
Chad says, "Decided not to go with the brew tonight. Bullet Rye Whiskey is in the tummy delivery service." I got this. This review is going to be coming up in the near future. The Guinness stock ale brewed in aged in bullet bourbon barrels. Have you had any of these open gate?
No, I've wanted to pick them up, but I've always found other things that kind of caught my interest more so. I think it's interesting that they're choosing a bourbon like company out of New York as opposed to an Irish barrel, but hey, more power to them. So
yeah, that is interesting that you mentioned that. I didn't even think of that. But they did this and they did one before it, and I wanted to get this one, and I didn't find it when it came out. And then at Holiday Market, like they just had singles randomly sitting around. I was like, all right, I can do that. I can get with that.
I would have snatched up a single in a heartbeat. So
yeah, it was not a cheap single. I peel the price tags off all this stuff, or at least I try to, like immediately, and because it's nice, but I don't want it to be front and center,
right,
on everything. So let's move on. We got Dave. He says a couple years ago, Two-Hearted was voted the best. By the time I got New Jersey, I was not impressed. That's like the third. It's been, what is it, 3 years now? 3 years running?
I thought it was 2 years running, but it could be 3. I know they got it this year too.
Yeah. This might be the second. This is huge. I'm going to show this. Super chat from Michael Krosnick, $20. I almost swore. I almost said $20 goddamn dollars. Michael, thank you so much. That's awesome. I super appreciate it. This is just something we do is for fun. But it's awesome that we get to share it with you guys. I was talking to John before this. I was thinking of maybe doing like a viewer special where we invite viewers on and we can all be on stream together. It can only be up to a certain amount, but still kind of playing with that. But again, Michael, thank you so much. That is awesome. The real Dr. Bigfoot, Waldo Special. Dr. Bigfoot, were you the one that talked about Waldo Special? I don't think so. Somebody said in the comments of the poll for today's video about Waldo's, and I will be looking for Waldo's. Meanwhile, the closest thing I can get you is this. I have a 6-pack holder for Oh, look at that! The green screen strikes again. Waldo's Special Ale.
I'll say I saw that someone got that today, but I haven't had it in a year or two. But I mean, if you like dank IPAs, that one's kind of at the top of the list. It's as far as weed beers go, it's one of the better ones.
You said weed beers, right? WEED.
Yep.
Okay, that's what I thought you said.
It's way better than Smells Like a Safety Meeting. Which I prefer it way more than that. Trying to think some of the other cannabis beers that are out there, cannabis smelling beers.
Right. Well, that's like what psychedelic catgrass is going towards, right? Is to be like that style.
Did they change it that way? I didn't know they were changing it. So.
Oh, I just thought that was kind of like the.
Oh, I mean, maybe Shorts is always so out there with what they decide to do. It's hard to keep up with them, but yeah. I mean, I know I kind of like the original name for Smells Like a Safety Meeting more, but that's fine. So
yeah, modus operandi for Shorts is, I don't know. I was going to say some witty thing and then I forgot it. Let's see.
That's probably exactly what they're
what they're going for.
Right.
Fabian says he's been digging on the meads. Are you into meads at all, John?
Yeah, I like them. I don't get as many of them as I would like to. Again, I get distracted by beer and bourbon usually, but I do enjoy them quite a bit. Bee Nectar is one of those places I can kind of hang out and just kind of love. I really want to get out to Griffin Claw now that they picked up Sellerman's cider and mead guy to check out what he's been doing. I just haven't had time to get out there, and now, whole different story. So yeah, I do dig them quite a bit. Just need time to get into them more than I have.
Yeah, I have no experience. Like, I think the only few that I've had have been Zombie Killer from Bee Nectar. I had Viking Blood from whoever does Viking Blood. I don't even know who does that.
It's a cool bottle.
Yeah, those bottles are awesome. They're like ceramic bottles. And that's all I got. Like, I don't think I've had much other meads. Grusha says he's moved on to Shiraz wine from Winking Owl. That's an Aldi wine, or a great brand from Aldi. $2. It's not paid $2. That's awesome. Amylase. Ryan Berry. Holy crap. Ryan Berry showed up. He says amylase is the enzyme. And he's talking about brewed IPAs, not that champagne yeast stuff. Sorry, John.
That's fine.
Josh Abrams says Born Yesterday is a good one too. Not a weed beer though. Are you familiar with Born Yesterday?
Yeah, it's a good one. It's basically Lagunitas' answer to the Enjoy By series, isn't it?
Oh, okay. I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure if I remember, that's what it is. It's just they're super fresh with like a born on date on it, basically.
I don't know if I can drink any more of this brown, so I'm going to move on to that Ascension beer since that seemed like that was something that other people were interested in seeing as well. Take Josh's message here. And let's keep moving down the chat. Fuzzy Nugs is a pretty good one as well from B Wood. Made with all nugget hops. Not a weed beer either, but still good. Fuzzy Nugs, it sounds like it should be a weed beer. All right. Yeah, I think my stomach has handled all it can handle of this brown. One more taste, though, for old time's sake.
Just remember where you've been.
That's right. You got to know where you've been to see where you're going, or something like that. This IPA glass is a little dirty, so don't be hating on the Dirty Glass Club here. I'm like pouring water into it. I'm afraid I'm going to break it because that's how this beer goes. Or this glass, I guess. Let's move it down to the chat. Comment on how Founders is so dominant. I like the styles, IPA, double IPA, stouts, all above, but Founders seems to be the best. What do you think about that?
There was a time where I would have totally agreed with that. I think they're, in a lot of ways, I think they kind of have set a standard when it comes to barrel aging. I think before Founders, there was a whole different. It's not to say that other breweries weren't doing it, but I think they kind of changed the whole game when it comes to barrel aged beers. But anymore, like I don't get as excited about Founders beer as I did probably 5 years ago.
Do you think that that is number one because we're so flooded with Founders stuff? And do you think that that is more of a change in you, or do you think that's more of a change in Founders?
I think it's a change in three things. I think it's a change in me. I think it's a change in Founders, and I think it's a change in the things that are available on the market. When I was like really, really big into Founders and basically everything Founders did, there were other breweries around, but it's not like now we're in a state where you throw a rock, you'll probably hit a brewery. They're all over the place here. When Founders, 10 years ago, when I started getting into craft beer, maybe more than that, Founders and Bell's were kind of like the breweries that were around here. So, I kind of liked them more because at the time I gravitated to their style of beer a little more than what I did to Bell's. That's also changed over the years a little bit. My personal opinions on Founders, so I personally like Founders a lot because I have memories at Founders that I'm never going to be able to get anywhere else. I think I wrote a piece about it a while ago, but like my dad can't drink, like he doesn't drink beer at all. But one of the things that I love Founders for is when I was in their tap room during my bachelor party, it was the only place where I could have a beer with my dad. It's been the only place since I've been legal that I could have a beer with my dad. So I personally have a real soft spot for Founders that's never going to go away because of that. Since they've expanded, yeah, I don't think it's hard, like a stretch to say that a lot of their beers have changed. If you like their stuff, like their all day IPA, Centennial, any of their stuff that's fresh like that, personally, I haven't noticed a big change in those beers. But there's stuff like anything that's coming out of a barrel, a lot of it's still good, but I'm more like when I go to Founders now, I'm more impressed by the things I can get in their tap room that I can't get in a can or in a bottle than most of the stuff that makes their way to shelves.
Yeah, I mean, I still think that they do some pretty special stuff. But I see, like what you're saying, it holds like a sentimental value. So or you relate so many good memories with a lot of stuff that they do. But I still think that they do really good beer. The only thing is like oh God, where did I see this? I saw something like just within the last couple of days where they were like talking about, with all this stuff going on, the reason that we're kind of talking now and all this, obviously all this business going on with everything in the world. And it was like, Michigan this and Michigan that. And it's kind of like, you're not really Michigan. I mean, you are because you're here. And obviously they spend a bunch of money here. They're pouring a bunch of money. They employ a bunch of people. But it's a business, it's like, you're not really Michigan anymore. You still are, but you're kind of not, like half of and maybe I'm totally wrong about that, but what's that?
They're like Spanish Michigan now. So.
Right. Espanol.
Yeah. But I mean, maybe it's because I do talk to I talk to quite a few people that are employed there at different levels. And I do think that from a company standpoint, I still see them having a lot of impact locally. I think I still see a lot of stuff where they do things to reach out to communities, especially in Grand Rapids, but in Grand Rapids and Detroit and throughout the state. Part of what they're doing right now with everything being all shut down is they're making an effort to promote, which is probably what you were talking about. They're promoting local companies, trying to just help keep them afloat for whatever that's worth. So I do think that from a company standpoint, they do have a lot more of it. I think they're still a Michigan company in that sense, and I think that's where their heart is. But you're absolutely right. I mean, they're a global company at this point as much as anything else. So
yeah, it's got to be hard, being able or trying to walk that fine line between satisfying the people that got you to where you are, but also like trying to better someone, whoever it is, somebody's bottom line,
I
It's
think
just
they do that more often than not, though. Like, I might not go looking for KBS the way I would have, 5 years ago. But one of my favorite beers last year, like if I were to rank like 10 beers out of just last year altogether, they did a white stout in their Detroit tap room that was exclusive in the tap room. And that was one of my favorite beers that I had all last year. So they still have the ability to make fantastic beer on a regular basis. So
I'm going to pour this Tactile Sensations. It's been calling my name here. I'm going to go to the single view. I'm going to go to the close up. Bam! This thing is so stinky.
I'm gonna need another beer while you're doing that.
All right, this is like, oh my god, this is like, it smells super dank. This is like me after not putting on deodorant for a while. It's just, yeah, it's a good mental image. But look at that. I was expecting it to be maybe a different color. This is Tactile Sensation from Ascension Brewing Company. It's got the stanky on it. That is super juicy looking. It's got the, what is in this? There is this little dude here. It's going to go out of focus, so you're not going to be able to see it. But in the rocket ship right here, or in the keg or whatever this is, the conical fermenter here, there's a little dude in there. And he looks like, what is that? I need bifocals. This looks like a Kerbal guy. It could be a dick butt. I don't know. It could be a dick butt. But yeah, wow. I mean, this thing is so stinky, and I'm sure I'm going to love it. It stinks. And it's not like a Jay Sherman, it stinks. It's like, it really stinks. Let's put it. This is the stinkiest beer I think I've had, like, recently. It's stinky. Wow, it's good though. It's really good. It does have lactose, and you can taste it on the finish. Big time lactose, but it's papaya milkshake IPA with vanilla and lactose double dry hop with Citra and Mosaic hops from Ascension Brewing Company in Novi, Michigan. That is nuts. What'd you grab, John?
I grabbed a Reeve Coffee Roasters Coffee Stout from Parish Brewing. I do not know where they're from, but this came from
in Alabama.
Okay. I've had this before, but I like it. So, and it was quick to get to. So,
where else? I have a Parish. This is going to be another upcoming. This is going to look so crazy on the green screen, but maybe not so much. This is a Dr. Juice. And that's from Parish as well. They are in, they're in Louisiana. I'm sorry, not Alabama. Broussard, Louisiana. That's an upcoming video.
Yeah, this one came from Tavour, so I got a couple left from them that I'm still getting to.
All right, let's get back to the chat. I know we left off on Michael. Michael gave a huge super chat amount. Again, Michael, big thanks. Like, undying gratitude. Back to the mead. Speak. West Vesper. Schramm's mead is amazeballs. Tyler says Lagunitas has got the best value per dollar in the game.
Agreed.
They're partially owned by Heineken, right?
I thought it was Duvel.
Is it? I thought it was Heineken.
Might be. They might be the same company. Hard to keep track of them at this point. But yeah, they've, for a long time, I used to have so much Lagunitas stuff in my cellar just because you could buy it for $5 for a bomber or, $7 for a 6-pack.
And it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Or it was. I know, like, little something.
Yep.
Or like IPA. You could find that like every place.
That brown sugar one they do. I think it's brown sugar or whatever. That one's really good too.
Yeah. Tyler says, so I asked him to check in. 2-year-old French toast double dog is meh. Lots of cinnamon. Josh Abrams' favorite beer of 2020 so far. Josh wants the hot take. John, I'll let you go first. You're the guest. Guests go first in this house. What's your favorite beer of 2020?
Favorite beer of 20, like a new beer?
That you've had in 2020. Let's put it that way.
Favorite beer that I've had in 2020 is Pro Pills, but that's cheating. I'd say probably the favorite new beer that I had. It's same brewery, but I really like the cinnamon sugar variant of Mom Said No that Drafting Table put out before everything happened. It's basically like a cinnamon, like, you know, the milk that you get at the bottom of a bowl of Cinnamon Toast Crunch. If you found a way to boil that down into a stout and crank up the ABV, that's basically what you get. And I was impressed with it.
I would say for me, I know it's not a new beer, but just in my limited memory at this point, this many beers in, I would say probably Dick Smasher is probably one of my favorite of this year so far. It's the first time I've had it, so I always kind of say, like, when I do these end of the year kind of roundups, my favorites that I've had so far, it's always been something that I've had new this year. I would say probably Dick Smasher is my favorite because it's just got like a lot of levels to it. That's not just, you know, the New England style IPAs or the hazy IPAs. You have to do something really kind of crazy to get to really stand out, you know, to stand out amongst the crowd. I would say Dick Smasher from Batch is probably my favorite so far of 2020. I'd really have to look through my list of what I've done already this year to say for sure, but I'm off the top of my head. Yeah, that's hard.
I did like that Captain Pabst IPA. That was pretty solid. And that kind of caught me off guard. I do like PBR, but I wasn't sure what the hell I was going to get out of that. So that was really good. So I don't remember if this was last year or this year, but the timeline's a little fuzzy at the moment. But the barrel-aged cold brew from Brew Detroit is fantastic too. So another coffee stout, and the barrel version is just absolutely knocked down amazing.
I've heard great things about their cold brew stout. So
yeah, even the regular, like, just standard version is super great. It's a lower ABV, so it's the kind of, like, if you want a stout that you can drink on like a Tuesday night, it's perfect for that because it's not gonna put you down for the next day. But the barrel aged version, just amazing. So
I'm going to take a time out from what we were talking about just to kind of comment on this beer. I don't know how often you get to Ascension. I love Ascension's beer, but I've noticed they go through these phases where they really have like that really hop burn kind of thing going on sometimes when you get it too fresh. This one it's good, but it has a little bit of that hop burn to it too, where it's just, it's almost too, I don't know if it's acidic, like acid, but it's just kind of like, you know, you feel like you feel it in the back of your palate. Let's go back to the chat. Wisco Boater, Chad says, "Are you wearing an old curmudgeon shirt?" Hell no. This is a backwoods bastard shirt, my friend. Old curmudgeon, come on. All right. Back to the Founders. Rob says Founders is so readily available and it's easy to find. That is a big, huge plus for Founders. Fabian says Bourbon County Stout seems to always hit the mark. Now, yeah, Revolution Brewing is definitely is giving them a run for the money with their barrel aged line. They do the Death Star, which I've been told it's like Death Star. I don't know if that's true. Somebody was just trying to fool me.
It's good, whatever it is.
Yeah, whatever it is. That was one of the things I kind of thought about grabbing a few. I have Death Star, I have Cafe Death, and I have Straight Jacket, but that would be like, that's all I'm drinking. And Chad could probably comment on Revolution. I believe he's in Wisconsin, but he's Wisco Boater, but he's probably pretty close. That he gets a lot more stuff than we do. Michael Krosnick says he's had current stuff as well, but he thinks Founders still holds up, and we would agree. Rob says, I used to love once a year, had some dust, once a year knowing local delivery schedules, driving around to pick up KBS just to get a case. Now it doesn't seem to go away, and I pass it up. That's kind of, it's like you can almost go to a place and get a 3-year vertical now because, you know, you'll still see 2018, 2019, and you'll see 2020 now on the shelves. I
still get phone calls from distributors when things are hidden places, so
you get the luxury of that. Us common.
Nice. It's good to make friends with people. So
it's true. Us mere mortals, we have to just watch Instagram.
Yeah, that helps too. So
it's nice having that. Michael Krasnick says, it's okay. I'm drinking BCS. Let's see, where did I lose? Okay, right here. Grusha says, are you familiar with the 2020 March draftness from Better on Draft? Can you comment on the current bracket or about it in general? I don't know. I know about it, but I don't know like what's in the running. I don't know who's on first, what's on second. I don't know who's on third. Maybe you can tell us. I'm an old man. Maybe.
I talk to those guys somewhat regular. I know this year I was kind of surprised. Like a lot of breweries that usually do pretty well in that tournament kind of went out in the first round. If I remember right, it's Baffin and Brewery 424 that are in the final this year. I might be wrong about that. I think that's who it is, though. Both of which are brewer. I like Baffin's beers that I've been able to get in cans, but both are breweries I need to make a trip out to. I got a list basically waiting for. Usually, like around the year, I'll go out on the weekend and hit a brewery or two off and scratch them off that list. Obviously, this right now is not benefiting that, but those are both high on my list of places I need to check out in the very near future and just haven't gone around to yet.
Yeah, I saw Baffin mention that they were still like pretty high in there. 242 is in Pontiac, right?
No, I think they're on the west side of the state.
I'm thinking of Fillmore. I don't know why I thought
they're pretty good. I just went there like right before all this. I was actually pretty impressed with them. So
with Fillmore,
yeah, Experimentation wasn't open. I was planning to hit them both on one day, but they weren't open that day. So
yeah, 242 is. I want to say it's Ludington, like right around Ludington,
something like that. Yeah.
All right, so
I don't know. We can do it in a day. It's not that hard. So.
Yeah, not too bad. I'm going to go back to the single view here for a second. I am going to get rid of this comment, and I am going to say that I'm going to ask one more time. Oh, that's not it. What am I doing? There we go. What you drinking? If you've changed, let us know in the comments. And then I'm going to go back to the main thing. I'm going to bring John back in. We're going to go back to the comments. All right, here we go. Hello, John. How are you? Long time no see.
Yeah.
All right, so now we're going to go back to, this is talking about the can, the Ascension can. I'm aware enough to know that's what he was talking about. With this little guy in the conical fermenter, he says, Kerbal missed that game. He flew to the sun and back. Yes, Wes Vesper says that Ascension looks thick. It tastes thick. It is very thick. Like I said, a little bit of a hot burn, but it's got a really juicy flavor to it. I don't know if I'm tasting so much papaya or more of just like hardcore orange juice, but it is hardcore lactose heavy. Like it's really, you can taste the lactose big time.
Looks like it.
Oh, Mr. Poopy Butthole. It could be Mr. Poopy Butthole. These old eyes. Yeah, but I think there is a dick butt. I think there's a red, because they said something about having dick butts on some of the cans. One of the brewers, Mike Creighton, said, hey, there's dick butts on these cans. And I think that, yeah, it was Mr. Poopy Butthole. That could totally be. I can't believe I just said that like multiple times. But it could be Mr. Poopy Butthole. Thank you, Ryan. Let's move on. Dave says, drinking a double IPA from Other Half. John, have you had Other Half before?
Haven't had the double IPA, but I've had a couple of their beers.
Other Half's pretty solid. They do a lot of solid beers. Tyler says, anyone had that cake beer? Have you had that cake beer from Oscar Blues? You might crack that one next. God, what is the actual name of that? It's not like not coconut. That's like Death by Coconut. There's like I saw it. It's got a multi-colored label. Some Death by Cake or something like that.
I don't know, but I like Oscar Blues. They do a lot more good than I can't think of a bad beer that they've had. I've
only had and I know it's going to sound crazy, the 1050, the two 1050s that I did recently are the first and only Oscar Blues that I've had. And I've been hearing so much about Oscar Blues, and I know that they're here, but it seems like they're really limited still. It's like you get a few things here and there, but you don't get the full lineup. Like there's so many things that I see that look interesting, but we just don't get them.
They do a session IPA. I think it's called Piner, if I remember right. That one I like a lot. That's a really good summer beer. A lot of pineapple in it. Easy way to win me over. I think it's Fugly is one of their beers that was pretty good. It's like a fruit ale that was surprisingly good.
Fugli,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
And yeah, 1050 is just great. So
That's a solid beer.
yeah.
All right. We go to Chad. He says, Rev Brews. Oh, man, the best. In his best Chicago accent. Hopefully I did it some justice. Definitely Death Star. So I was getting trolled. Somebody told me something. Death Star was great from Rob. He says he loved it. Grusha, Baffin, and Copper Hop are in the final. Okay. This year, a big surprise. Copper Hop has dominated from the beginning. I've never heard of them either. Have you heard of them, John?
I heard of them because they knocked out Drafting Table in the first round, and everyone knows I'm a big fan of theirs. So I was like, "What the hell is this?" But yeah, I haven't heard of them other than that. So
they do. Ashley's in Westland would do like a tap. It was like kind of the same thing where they do a tournament where people came in, and that's Canton Brewworks. I think they ended up winning it last year. Before I think it was the last year Ashley's did it. And I think because they were so close, they had so many people show up, and it was based on sales, on blowing kegs, and whatever sold the most would win. So that would probably be a big surprise to most people.
It's one of the cooler things about the veteran draft bracket thing, though. There's always a brewery or two in there that I'm like, this place wasn't even on my radar. What? So always a good thing to be able to find new stuff.
Yeah, it seems like there's so many places popping up. And that's when I go to festivals, especially the Michigan Brewers Guild fests, I like to just hit places that I can't normally get, like, I've heard of this place, or I've been following them on social media for a while. I want to try that place because.
Was I still with you when we found the hops, or was I with someone else when we found them?
No, that was that's what I was going to bring that up in Grand Rapids.
Yeah. And that place, like you're in the middle of Summer Beer Fest, which is by far the biggest festival that happens here every year. And the fact that they only had 2 beers on tap and that they were willing to basically screw up your glass and throw hot sauce in it to kind of accentuate one of their beers. It's like, all right, that takes some balls. I kind of like these guys. So what's that?
That lager that they did, that cerveza style?
That Mexican lager they did, yeah. Mm-hmm. I've gotten to talking to one of their brewers there. They're really down-to-earth, cool people there, too.
That's when all this stuff clears up. We needed to hit that place.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Rob says he's on his fourth backwoods bastard. And that's probably his limit. Maybe. Definitely maybe. Wow, I skipped ahead here. Okay. Josh says you need to come to Virginia and experience a beer scene. Josh, what are have you had a lot of stuff from Virginia, John?
If I have, I don't know what it is off the top of my head.
Josh, share with us some Virginia breweries to watch out for. Where was I? I'm getting that hop burn is hardcore with this. I feel like I need to let it sit for a little bit longer. Chad says, hitting up Vintage Brewing Box. Oh, chocolates. So good. Peter Vargas drinking Arcadia cheap date session.
Wow. What that hold up?
I didn't think I'd be seeing an Arcadia beer in here. Cheap dates.
Yeah, that's their session IPA. That came out a couple summers. I'm interested to know how that held up over the last at least year. So
it was last year, I think, because that's the people on the bikes. I told you. Yep. Labels. That's what I look at. Michael, thoughts on why craft beer on YouTube is so low, but craft brew is so big in the general population? I'll let you start, John.
We were talking about this a week or two ago because we were talking about this compared to whiskey channels and stuff. My personal opinion why it's not as big as some of those, like comparatively to like liquors and stuff, is the investment when you're trying a beer is relatively low in comparison. Because I watch a lot of like whiskey channels too, trying to figure out things I want to try and what I want to throw my money at. But it's a lot easier for me to throw my money at a 6-pack of beer that even if I hate it, I can work through within 4 or 5 days at most, where I've got bottles of whiskey here that I'll probably have for the next 10 years that I've thrown money at. So it's nice. I think in general, people are more willing to take a risk on a beer because that they don't know about or that they haven't tried because it's kind of there and gone if you don't like it. But I also think it's something that's going to have a lot of opportunity to grow, especially with everything that's going on right now. I think people are looking for outlets on things they can kind of digest on their own type of interest. And it's a good way for YouTube videos and video content like this is a good thing to, I mean, there's a market for it. It's just a matter of finding someone who can really capitalize on it.
Yeah, I think it's tough. I think there's a lot of competition in just the beer space because, like you said, the investment is low to get into beer, and you make a really good point. You know, if you only spend, in comparison, you might spend like maybe on the high end, you're spending $20 on a 4-pack, which is it's not nothing for sure. But if you're spending $20 on a 4-pack, but you're spending $60 on a pretty, like, I don't even know how much whiskey, or especially bourbon channels are huge. I don't know how much you spend. I don't buy that stuff, but let's say you spend $60 on a mid-range or maybe like a mid to lower range liquor. I could be totally off base again. I don't buy it, but you know,
you can spend as much as you want to spend, really. So.
Yeah. So you want to know that what you're buying is worthwhile, so you get a lot more people to watch it. I mean, I don't know how much competition. I'm sure it's competition's just the same on liquors like bourbon and whiskey and all that stuff than there is on craft beer. But I feel like, I don't know. I that's a great question. I don't know why it's like so. When you look at the views on some of this stuff, like my highest view count on some of these videos, it's going to be a Founder's beer, and it's going to be 5,000s, like the highest. And that's almost, you know, just like over and above everything else. Most of my videos don't get much more than maybe 100, 150 views. And I think that also, I think that makes it kind of tough when you want to proposition somebody to say, hey, you know, I know you're a brewery and there's a lot of attention on you, or, you know, there's fierce loyalty to breweries. When you want to approach these people, and for the stuff that I do is a little bit longer form, it might take me a couple hours to kind of get the footage together to present them, you know, as a, you know, more than just like, oh yeah, I pour beer and everything tastes like Bud Light. It's not like that. So if I go into a place like that, they're going to have to spend a few hours, and a few hours, the person that runs the brewery, owns the brewery, and is the brewer might be the same person. You know what I mean? So there's like a higher barrier of entry to get into those places, and they already have a fierce following. If you have a place that's local to you, you know, they're going to just hit it up. But we'll go back to YouTube. I just think there's a lot of competition, and I think, like you said, you know, a lot of people are like, well, it's a 4-pack or it's a 6-pack. It cost me, you know, $20 on the high end, whatever. I'm just going to try this. If I don't like it, I don't like it. And I give it to a buddy, or we share it. If you have the Rosetta Stone to the puzzle, share it with me. But yeah, to me, it just feels kind of like, I think that there's not a lot because like you said, it's a lower price point. I might be rambling, but that's what I do. All right. So where are we? Okay, we go to Ryan. Untapped. Oh, Rick and Morty fans will love artwork. Okay. We're going back to the tactile sensations. Death by King Cake from Tyler.
I care. I'll be looking for it. So
yeah, I think Bluefront in Ann Arbor they have a thing now where you can do curbside, and I think that's Death by King Cake. They had that in stock, so you could buy that. Well, like yesterday afternoon. Ryan Berry says he's drinking a Boss Tweed. He's dying to try Arvon. Ryan, I don't know where you're at, but they have Holiday Market and Royal Oak, and Holiday Market and Royal Oak can kind of hold on to it a little bit longer. 8 degrees in Plato, 8 degrees Plato in Detroit. They get Arvon and they sell out like within a day. It's kind of how transient used to be for a lot of these places. Like they get it in that day and it's gone. I think Holiday Market in Royal Oak, you might be able to find it for a little bit longer. Josh says Aslan. The answer: Triple Crossing, Vale, Commonwealth. Those are Virginia breweries that we should be on the lookout for.
Okay.
Grusha says, do you guys know any good Facebook groups or other places for beer trading in Michigan? Most groups have banned it recently because of Facebook rules. I know of a shipper thing where people kind of trade, but I don't want to out them. Hit me up somewhere and I might be able to, social media someplace, I might be able to clue you in on some of that information. But I know that's like a big hot topic right now, is like a lot of these groups are like, don't talk about trading, don't trade, don't
your best bet if you're going to try to do it through social media is just to don't even say it in comments, just directly message someone and hope for the best. You could get pushback that way. I don't know how active it is now because I haven't used it in years, but Beck's used to be a great place to be able to exchange beer. Craft beer has grown, so it's really not something that I feel a big need to go out of my way to like. I'm personally, if I can't find something, I just kind of move on and find something else. But Bex BX, it's short for beer exchange. There's an app that you can get on iPhones at least. There used to be trades on there all the time. I don't know how well that still works, but it's worth checking out.
I would also suggest following people on Untapped that you're into. Just kind of see what other people are drinking, and that's kind of almost the best way to, you know, kind of find people to trade with. Wisco Boater, Chad says, nail on the head, John. One reason we dropped off the Bearded Hops channel. And so Wisco Boater, Chad, Bearded Hops is a podcast, or, you know, it's in hiatus now, but they would do a lot of interviews with people in the industry. And, you know, I think he's talking about what the, you know, about the beer tube kind of scene and how it's kind of died off. And there's a lot of creators, you know, it's hard because I know for me, I'll speak from my experience. You know, I go and I buy stuff, and I'm not buying 6-packs or 4-packs anymore. I'm going to places where I can get singles from. And, you know, it's a big investment to kind of continue to do this, to say, you know, I'm going to buy this beer. You know, this is a Michigan focused channel. I'm almost exclusively talking about Michigan beer. It's just kind of tough to go, and you have to stake these things out. And, you know, it's just tough if you're not really hooking into having a lot of these breweries. Like for me personally, a lot of these breweries have to share my stuff, or you guys at Som Beer have done an awesome job with sharing my videos. But you almost have to have the people. It's like they don't. A lot of people don't know that we're even out here like doing this. It's not, you know, you might look on YouTube to say like, hey, my furnace isn't working. How do I clean the element? Or, you know, my whiskey, how does this whiskey, I'm going to spend $60 on this whiskey, $100 on this whiskey. I'm going to spend whatever. How does it taste? I want to know before if it's good, but they might not look at that for beer. I think that it's kind of like a blind spot for a lot of people. But anyways, Bearded Hops did a lot of interviews with breweries and with creators and stuff like that in the beer scene. And they had a really hard time latching on. I think it's just like, it's hard to kind of get people to latch onto that. So Rob says, John, what's the rarest or best whiskey you have? I do watch the Whiskey Vault and see things I want, but I can't afford it. What's like what are your kind of grails?
Well, my grails I don't have, but the rarest thing I probably have, what's down there? I've got a couple Eagle Rare store picks, which I guess are rare because you're not going to just go in and find them everywhere. I'm a big fan of the Ellison Sherry Cask Straight Bourbon, which they had on sale for like $20 last week. So if you're near Lansing, that's absolutely worth picking up. That's rare in the sense that you're not really going to get it outside of East Lansing. My personal favorites, I'm a big fan of anything that's in the Buffalo Trace line. Gosh, my rarest thing I probably have right now, I just snagged a bottle of the Barrel Proof Larceny. So that was so good that I couldn't talk for like 10 minutes after I tried it. So I was really amazed with that. But I generally tend to go toward I as much as I love bourbon, I don't really seek out grails so much. I like finding things in the $20 to $40 range that kind of are just like the things that I've had that have been really good and that I know are expensive. Like I've tried things like Stag, and they're great, but I've been just as impressed by things like I use Eagle Rare as the comparison all the time. You can go pick up a bottle of Blanton's for $60 if you're lucky, because that's what the state minimum is, and that's a very sought after bourbon. But me personally, I'd rather pick up a bottle of Eagle Rare for $32. I think it's got more flavor to it. It's got a better nose on it. It's got this real funky element that I don't get off of Blanton's. Blanton's is great, but I tend to live in the like lower end with it because I like finding diamonds in the rough.
Yeah, I'm just not a. That's like beer is the stuff that I do, and I've not against it. It's not something that I've ever really sought after. I know, like for a little bit, I was like maybe I'll get into whiskey or rye or stuff like that, but just never really been much on my radar. Chad has a reply to Rob. He says opportunity to sample some expensive whiskeys. There's very little difference between a high end and a $30 to $40 bottle. Enjoy what you can and just go from there. And then Ryan says Austin Brothers have been on fire lately with the Merc series and their sours. I've not had an Austin Brothers sour.
I haven't had a sour. I've had a bunch of their IPAs, and I love their Russian Imperial Stout. I haven't tried any of their sours.
I don't even know if I'm familiar with what kind of sours they have.
Yeah, I'm not either. They're so where most of the places where I end up, their distribution is fairly limited. And I've only gotten that RIS that I got of theirs was a growler that made its way to me from a friend. So they know I love Russian stouts, so they just kind of bought a growler and brought it home. They're another one of those places that it's on that list of places to go check out.
Yeah, one of the beers I have in my cooler, I know I'm still nursing this Ascension, but I have another Austin Brothers release coming to review. It's already recorded, so it just has to be edited and posted. But then I have this strawberry smoothie, which I know this is not a new beer. This is like a few months old. Wow, this is really old. This is August. This is August 2019. Wow. Okay. Well, yeah. It's been cold well, I don't know, actually.
It'll be fine.
Yeah, it'll be good.
It won't kill you.
What's your opinion on drinking IPAs like super fresh?
It's better, but it's not the end all be all. I was talking to a buddy about this the other day. He asked me about it. His boss had some Two Hearted in his fridge, and he says he's had it for like 6 months. He was asking what to do with it. He, for whatever reason, asked my opinion. I was like, drink it. It's fine. Drink it. I know it says 3 months on the label, and that's ideal circumstances, but I mean, I'm sure you have this happen too. Like I have beers all the time that find their way to the back of my fridge. Like I pulled a can of Train Hopper with the green label, that the 12-ounce can, before they started making them, not long before I moved. So sometime this winter, that just made its way to the back of the fridge and got kind of hidden back there forever. So it was probably at least a year old, and it tasted fine. They're better fresh, but I've had very few beers that just because they're old, they're not drinkable. So
right. Yeah, there's very few that even if they're old, they're like, yeah, this doesn't taste anything like
right
what I'm expecting. I'm just going to dump this. I mean,
yeah.
I did a video about M43, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was M43, like a 6-month-old versus like a fresh. And there's a definite difference when you sit side by side and you try them,
sure.
One after the other.
How often are you, like, in general, how often are you, for the sake of comparing them, taking a 6-month and a 5-day-old beer and comparing them side by side? You can do that as a reviewer, but generally you don't do that. If you go to your friend's barbecue and they happen to pull out like a year-old Two Hearted, I highly doubt you're going to be mad about it. So
right. I do have a tart the tart strawberry M43. So I know they just Old Nation just announced that they're going to postpone the release of that, obviously with all this fun stuff going on. But I have a 2018, a 2019, and I'm hoping to get a 2020 and just do a side by side. I think that'd be interesting to see, like, not only how maybe they've changed their process of brewing from 2018 to 2019 to 2020, but also how like different that's changed. But if you keep
I imagine the beer floaties you would get out of that beer are just going to be fantastic.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's going to be more than that's probably going to be the most different, even more than the flavor.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if you have it refrigerated the whole time, yeah, it does change. Obviously, things change. Chemistry changes. It's science. But yeah, I'm just interested to see how that goes. So we'll go back to the chat. Michael says he's never liked whiskey, but he gave an LOL. And Rob says, I don't consider it craft, but has anyone tried Sam Adams Utopia? I've seen a few bottles of this locally, but was never sure if it was worth the time and the money. I haven't had it, and I don't even know if I've ever even seen it on shelves, but have you had it or seen it?
I've seen it. I've been asked to buy it. I don't want to pay for it. I mean, I've heard that it's really good. Don't think of it as a beer. Think of it as a liquor.
Yeah.
Anyone that I know that's had it, it's actually resealable, and it's the kind of thing that it is essentially a liquor. But as much as I like having weird things like that around the house, I can't justify the price on that.
I can say if you're looking to see what someone else says about it, if you look at No Hype Beer Reviews, Kyle at No Hype Beer Reviews on YouTube, he has tried, I think, a few different versions, like a few different years of it. I would put Kyle's palate like against. I don't consider myself to have a very sophisticated palate. I just kind of talk about what I taste. But I think Kyle is one of those people that have a pretty advanced palate. If you have any interest in seeing what someone else says about it, check out Kyle at No Hype Beer Reviews. He has talked, I think, about at least the last two Utopias. So he does a really great job on his videos. Let's see. And moving on. Michael Krosnick says, Hey guys, you heard of this thing? It's called coronavirus. What have you been doing?
Washing my hands.
Yeah. In the chat, I'm going to ask that too. What have you guys been doing to kind of pass the time? I'm still working in a full disclosure. John and I work for the same company. So we're not going to say who it is, but we're considered like essential. The company we work for is an essential thing. So we've both been working. I've been being a half-ass homeschool teacher and maybe a half-ass worker, I don't know. And then kind of recording videos, editing videos, and drinking beer and playing video games. I haven't watched a whole lot of stuff, but that's what I've been up to. And I think, John, you've been kind of maybe not so much about the videos, but probably watching. We talked about Return of the Living Dead before we started this.
Yeah, so I've been working. I watched Tiger King like day one of all this because what else are you going to do?
Right.
Kind of fall back into a couple old movies. Like I watched, like I said, Return of the Living Dead, the 80s punk rock zombie movie. I tend to get bored with TV. So I have a tendency to kind of dive into YouTube and find concerts and stuff like that and just kind of let that play and try to be productive. I've been writing more, it's kind of boring because there's not a lot of stuff to talk about. Reviews in writing, it's something that's easy to post and it's fun to talk about, but I like writing more pieces that have more thought into them. But since there's nothing else going on, I'm just kind of whatever I'm pulling out, I'm kind of writing about it piece by piece. And other than that, just kind of hanging around with the dog and trying to not drive my wife crazy. So.
Yeah, I've been finding myself kind of falling into, there's always movies that I want to watch and I don't ever seem to watch them.
Yeah, I do that too.
Falling into a lot of like YouTube, kind of watching performances or hearing songs or watching videos of stuff that I didn't know had a video for, or didn't know that like artists that I really enjoy. I didn't realize that they put videos out. I'm a really big fan of the Cocteau Twins, which is like a early 90s, like, shoegaze kind of band out of England. And so, like, oh yeah, Cocteau Twins, they have this, they did this video. I didn't know that they did a video for that, or like they did this song with or the singer Elizabeth Fraser did this song with Tim Buckley. Like, I didn't know Tim Buckley and Elizabeth Fraser were like in a relationship. And then you fall down these like Wikipedia holes where, oh yeah, let's see where these people connected. And you'd like find out these things. It's been nuts. So been doing a lot of that. Kind of been watching some TV, again, not watching nearly as many movies as I want to watch. There's so much stuff that's come out that I used to like really watch a lot of movies. I used to have a B movie review site where I'd watch like the worst movies and kind of talk about them. So that's what I did before this, and I just haven't really gone back into a lot of that stuff. But there's just always movies to watch. There's always new stuff coming out. Let's go back into chat here. Grusha, aloha, punch from Austin Brothers recently. Oh, all right. I've seen aloha. I didn't realize that was a sour though. I thought it was just an IPA.
I thought it was a greeting. So
aloha. All right. Rob says he's been a nice bottle of Whistle Pig, but it was a few $100. That's next level for me.
That's Whistle Pig. I haven't tried Whistle Pig personally. I'm not huge on rye. What I know about them is that the people who I know that like rye swear by it and say that it's worth every bit of that $200 price tag. I mean, if it's something that you can afford, go for it. If you're comfortable paying it, why not?
YOLO, right?
Right. If you don't like it, you don't buy it again.
That's right. Yeah. Well, I might not be able to afford it again. All right. So Chad says no hype. Yeah, we were talking about Kyle and Utopia. He says that he needs to share. I agree. He needs to send a glass in the mail. Just send a glass of Utopia to me. That's all I need. Yeah, and Wisco Boater, he on his channel. This is the most interesting thing. Well, one of the most interesting things. I won't put him on a pedestal. Chad is like renovating a tugboat, or he was. Last I heard, was renovating a tugboat. That's what, and he had a YouTube channel about that. I didn't even know that people did that. Ryan says he got a bottle of 2019 Utopia, saving it for a special occasion or to sell on eBay. That's only empty though. Just tell him, hey, it's an empty bottle. I'm just a collector's bottle. Michael says, well, we're on our first date. What's your favorite movie? This should be easy, John. What's your favorite movie?
Big Lebowski.
Really?
Yep.
I didn't think that's what you'd say.
I mean, I got a lot of movies I love, but that's the movie that, as long as I can remember, I still laugh like a kid every time I watch it. So I love that movie.
I really like Big Lebowski. I wouldn't say it's my favorite. I mean, there's a whole lot of movies like you, I'm sure. There's like a pantheon, like of all these movies that I could say are one of my favorites. One of my favorites. But I would say, and this is like an old choice for me, it's been my favorite movie for a long time, and it probably will be my favorite movie like that I can ever mention, is The Terminator. The original Terminator is my favorite movie of all time. It's got everything. It's got robots. Well, it's got robots. It does have robots. It has cyborgs, right? Well, cyborgs are humans, so they're not. Or androids are humans. Cyborgs are robots that have like human skin or whatever.
It's a great movie. So
it's got the future. It's got the present at the time. It's got action. He blows up the whole police station. Arnie, I mean, fuck. I had to catch myself. He has the famous line, that he reads to himself. That one famous line. All right. Ryan says, Aloha Punch is really good. Plumpercott, and there goes a winter. I think I saw Plumpercott recently. That's like a recent release. It has like a purple label.
Not sure.
I told you. Everything goes back to the label for me. Tyler's favorite movie, Pulp Fiction. Josh Abrams says, what's the most you've spent on a beer? He thinks his was Geisha by New Belgium. On a single beer?
Probably around $25. It would have been. Yeah, I bought a bottle of Paddleable Reserve, and I think that was around $25. I think so. Probably right in that area.
For a single bottle?
Yeah, it was like a 12-ounce bottle. It's an Imperial Stout, and that particular version, if I remember right, it came out of Pappy Van Winkle 23-year-old barrels. So the barrel was probably half the cost, if not more. So
that makes sense. I think the most this is embarrassing. The most I've spent, or the most expensive bottle of beer that I bought was probably like BCS, and it was like when I got gouged, and it was like probably $25 for a bottle, and that was way too much. Other than that, And this was like a couple of years ago when I didn't know that it didn't cost that much. Geez, I don't know. I probably paid quite a bit for No Rules at some point.
I think I paid around 18, 19 for that area. Yeah. For a bottle. Usually I just get it at their tap room, like just because it's easier, like get on draft. But yeah, I think around 18, 19 is what I paid for a bottle of that.
Oh, I paid $25 for CBS in 2017.
Yeah, I can see that.
$50.
So yeah.
Yes, $50 for 2 bottles. I drove to Grand Rapids for it. Josh says a single bottle, $60 for a 750 ml.
For a whiskey?
I'm thinking of beer.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And Tyler says $50 for Hunapoo.
Hunapoo.
Hunapoo. That's what I said from Cigar City.
Yep.
What's your favorite Cigar City beer that you've had?
Florida Man.
The Florida Cracker?
Florida Man. It's a double IPA that I don't even know if they still release it, but it's a double IPA that came out in midsummer. It was before the whole haze phase came along, and it was just over the top, just a hop bomb that kind of blew my face off in a good way.
Okay. And Josh says the geisha cost him $60 for a 750.
Oh.
Okay. Rob says $45 for a bottle of Chimay Blue Barrel aged. Blue Barrel aged. My favorite Cigar City, I haven't had a whole bunch from Cigar City, but my favorite has been, I think it was one of the Marshall Zhukovs. I don't remember if it was like a special Marshall Zhukov, but one of the Marshall Zhukovs I thought that was like one of the best stouts I probably ever had, let alone from Cigar City. It might have just been a regular one, and it was one before they started doing the whole Canarchy thing, where they were available here in Michigan as well as the other states. I went to Florida and I picked it up, so I think it may have just been the regular one. I was really just impressed by that.
They're always my first stop when I get off the plane in Florida because I got a friend that lives down there. So the standard operating procedure is get off the plane, hop an Uber to Cigar City, and he picks me up there instead of dealing with the airport.
Their tap room. Have you been to their tap room in Tampa?
Oh yeah, several times. It's cool.
Yeah, I went, but I think they've redone it like recently. But yeah, I went a couple years ago and it was pretty awesome. Tyler here says White Oak High Lie. I was looking. You saw me looking. I have a regular High Lie. That's going to be totally. Whoa! Look at that. Let's put it in front. It almost disappears. I thought I had a White Oak, but I had a White Oak in Florida. That was pretty cool. That's a really good beer. And Josh says, what are your thoughts on breweries doing hard seltzers?
I think it's a good thing. I think if it gets more people into your tap room and it makes people happy, why not do it? No one's telling you that you have to drink any one thing. If I go to a brewery, the way I see it is if it gets people in the tap room and if it gets people to come back to the tap room, do it. I don't have this thing, but I know a lot of people who have significant others who might not like beer, or they have friends that don't like beer and they want to go hang out with you. And it's a way to get people into your tap room who don't want to have a beer. So do it.
Yeah, I'm on the same page. Like, I'm not a big, I don't even mind having seltzers. I know the first one that I had that I was really impressed with was Ordok. I went to the Fall Beer Fest in the UP last year, and having Ordok seltzer was the first one that I think that I had that was not a malt beverage. Like, I'm not a big fan of the malt beverage seltzers, like White Claws, like that. Almost everything on the market. I know Ordok, Griffin Claw are two that use, I think it's sucralose. They just have a cleaner taste to them. They don't have I find that the malt beverage seltzers have more like a vodka kind of finish, and I like vodka, but I'm not like a fan of that as having it like a light drink. But I'm kind of on the same page. If it brings more asses in the seats, then I'm totally down for it. I think that it's a good thing. I mean, there's so many. I hate to call Chad out here, and I don't know if he was one, but I know Adam on Bearded Hops. We talked about seltzers, and I think it was Rajay Beer Ventures, we talked about seltzers being a thing. This was last summer. Seltzers being a thing next summer, and it was like, yeah, of course. It's not that big of a fad. I mean, it is a fad, and it's selling a lot. They're selling a lot, but it's going to be here to stay. You know, I mean, it's not going to be a flash in the pan. And there's like Sam Adams, right? They do they do Truly, right? They have Truly. Is that their seltzer brand?
Pretty sure.
They sell more seltzer. Like they make more money off seltzer than they do off beer.
Yeah.
So if it brings people in that aren't, maybe it's like it's like marijuana. It's a gateway drug. Maybe it'll bring people in that aren't into craft beer, and maybe they'll try the seltzer from the brewery, and they'll say like, "Oh yeah, this seltzer's pretty good. Let's try some beer from this place." I'm okay with it. I don't personally drink it myself like very often, but I don't have any problem if it's something that turns somebody on to the brewery. Then I'm all for it. Real Dr. Bigfoot says he saw Florida Man in a liquor store in Ferndale a couple weeks ago.
Guess I'm going to have to go to Ferndale. So.
Yeah. Real Dr. Bigfoot, share. Where was that place? Rob says White Oak High Life was good. He had it in Disney World. It's probably Epcot, because Epcot has all those. Have you been to Epcot recently? Have you been to Disney World?
I haven't been to Disney World since I was a kid.
Epcot is the place. I made a video and I never posted it because I didn't have enough footage. Epcot is the place to go if you go to Disney World for beer, because they have that whole like lake with all the countries around the world. It's not all of them, but you can try Chinese beer. You can try like Qingdao or, you know, Chinese beer, like rice beers. You can try Japanese, all the different countries. They have beers from that kind of area. So like the Norse beers, they have like, Einstock, they have a couple other things. They have, you know, in France, they have, I can't remember the name of it, but like America, that's like where I was like, they have 90-minute IPA here in the America section of Epcot. So you can go there and just drink around the world and be all right. You would have a good time.
Sounds entertaining.
It's not too
Probably,
bad.
you know, $18 beer for everyone that you pour, but hey, so
I think it was only $9.
Stadium prices, that's not so bad.
Yeah. Hey, Wes Vesper says Griffin Claw Hard Seltzers are surprisingly good. He checked in earlier. Oh, vindication. Chad says, yeah, we were wrong on the fad. It's a thing. Not as big as we thought. Oh, no stipulations. No take backs. Josh says, do you think the haze craze will die out? I'm a haze guy, but I've been really into some crispy pills this year. We talked about pills earlier. You had
that sounds like something I said 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think there's just so much. The market's so crowded with hazies. I wouldn't be super opposed to. I mean, I still want, you know, hazies to stick around, but I'd love to see more pills. I think that there's so much more like.
I think it's going to go the same way as the West Coast IPA did. If you think about it, before hazies came around, everyone had a West Coast IPA or 7 in their tap room, and then hazies came along and it kind of thinned the herd. You know, milkshake IPAs are definitely hazy, but I think they're kind of a different beast than just a standard hazy IPA. I think you're still going to – I think that they're definitely a solid enough style that and people like them enough that you're going to see them forever. But I don't think you're going to see the abundance of them that you've seen over the last 2-3 years.
Yeah, I think that, like you, it's the thing that the most maddening thing to me about breweries is going someplace and seeing on the board that they have all these IPAs, but they don't differentiate them. So you're kind of like, yeah, I'll have the, you know, I don't know. I'll have the Cocksick IPA, and you have it, and it's like, this is a West Coast, and then you have the other one that's an IPA, and it's a hazy, but they don't tell you that they're different. Right. That's the craziest thing to me. But yeah, I think that it, like, you know, I agree. I think it'd be interesting to see the real estate open up on these other styles of IPAs, or like you said, Pilsners or whatnot, that kind of move into that territory. Let's move down. Rob says hard ciders versus hard seltzers. It's the next big thing. I have a cider company in this very small town of Leslie, and it's doing great, at least before this COVID-19 stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I think seltzers still have they still have room to grow. I think that.
I think the next big thing is going to be the low-cal IPA.
Yeah, let me ask a question.
Making craft beer mowers is going to be this year's thing.
Okay. I can get on board with that. That's the thing, like for the people that are on, I know we don't have like a super huge sample, but sample size of the people that are on. But the thing I've noticed is that the low-cal stuff that I've done lately, like Light Point, Lighthearted, I think did pretty well, but I think it was like a curiosity. Like people have heard so much about it. Light Point didn't do very well, and other low-cal IPAs, at least like based on my audience, haven't been super popular. I think that it is a big thing. I mean, there's so many places moving towards low-cal. I know that the Bearded Hops guys, Chad and Adam and Jake, talked about a lot about NA beer, non-alcoholic beer. I think that I think we're going to see a lot of low-cal stuff, though. I mean, just low-cal, low-carb, all that kind of deal, and using really experimental ingredients to get to that.
Well, I think with low-cal, and I Lighthearted's the one that really sticks out, but even like Bury Your Dead, or there's another one I had that's I forget the name of it right now, but the one thing that I've kind of noticed with all of them is I want this when it's 80 degrees outside and humid in Michigan and I'm outside doing other things. Right now, I mean, today it was mid 60s, so it was better, but it's not at the point where I feel like I need a lighter beer. Like I can still drink a stout or whatever and be fine. Yeah. But I think once you start having things heat up, your people who don't like Oberon, your people who don't like shandies and all that other type of stuff, I think they're going to see it as a viable alternative just for something where they don't feel like they just had 15 pounds of yeast in their stomach after drinking like 2 IPAs. I think that's where it's really going to kind of kick off. It's weird that so many places are launching these kind of in the colder months. But that's kind of been the thing that any of them that I've tried, I keep coming back to them. Like, I think I'm really going to like this a lot once it's hot outside. And I just want something with flavor, but not necessarily all the same body.
Yeah, I'm feeling you there. I think it's almost like, they want to be first to the finish line. They want to release the Lighthearted first. They want to release Light Point first. It's kind of like you go back to like the whole console wars of like PlayStation 2 and Xbox. Right. They want to be the first one out there to try and win the market share before, maybe win the hearts and minds of the people that are drinking this stuff before the season that you actually want to drink this is available. But yeah, I'm really interested to see how it evolves, how it changes, how big we start seeing this stuff as the months get warmer. And like you said, today was like 63 or something. I'm like a hoodie guy like all year round, and it was almost like borderline, maybe I don't need this hoodie today. So Rob checks back in. He says he had it in Epcot. Michael says, your thoughts on coronavirus on microbreweries? I think we kind of touched on that. I think we're both kind of, what's the word? Not bullish, but it's kind of like, I just kind of hope we make it out of this and that the places that we love to go to are still able to support the people that work there. I mean, it's not a lot of these places aren't like flush with cash. Right. It's not like they're just sitting high on the hog on big like Scrooge McDuck piles of gold coins and gold doubloons and all that stuff. I think it's really not really like paycheck to paycheck necessarily, but a lot of these places have a lot of investors. I know that a
lot of places can't deal with a week-long shutdown, let alone months if it turns into that. And realistically, I mean, everyone's claiming that there's going to be people helping small businesses and all that, but I think we all know as much as anything, you don't really know. You can't count on that until it's actually there. So, hopefully these places can just stay afloat or figure out a way to stay afloat. I mean, obviously you got to do what's best for your employees and your business first, but that's the biggest thing is just hoping that some of these, especially if you're a smaller place, like someone mentioned earlier, Ferndale Project just reopened. And I haven't even gotten a chance to go down there yet since they've reopened, but I'm really hoping a smaller place like that can kind of weather this storm and make it to the point where they can open. There's another Loaded Dice is about to open, and just the amount of money that it takes to get to the point where you can open doors before you start turning a profit. I just hope that these places can kind of come out of this and still have a business at the end of the day.
You bring up a really interesting point with Loaded Dice. It's like that's a place that I followed on Instagram, and they post a lot of stuff about their progress and about kind of like obviously the research that they're doing to kind of get into the market and getting the paperwork. You can really follow a really detailed saga basically on how they're trying to get open, and then all this stuff hits, and places that are just trying to open, just struggling to get open, get all the bureaucracy, all the red tape, and get all the permits and all the stuff ready just to be able to open, and this thing hits, and it's like, this has been years in the making.
Right. And they're all super cool people too, and so far they're all being really like positive about it.
Yeah.
But how much of that, I hope that's all accurate, but I got to think they're stressing behind the scenes on it. So,
put on a brave face and just push forward and hopefully hope for the best. Like even River Rouge, like they're opening their place. I think it's in Oak Park. They're trying to open the new place and move out of Royal Oak, or I think they're going to try and do both for the time being. But that's like a really awesome. I really like River Rouge quite a bit. But it's just trying to open a place like this with all this uncertainty and the ingredients, just all the stuff that goes into brewing beer, and it's fresh stuff. It's not, you can't sit on hops forever. You can't sit on stuff forever, and you're gonna have to rebuy at some point. So I don't know.
A lot of them too are still brewing right now. Like there's like part of the way it was explained to me, as part of their licensing to be able to keep their building going, they still have to be brewing daily. They have to be in there and working that on a daily basis. So even your breweries, a lot of them that are closed, they still have people going in and making products. So you're going to see something when this all comes out that you can buy, hopefully, whatever that might be. But there's, the fact that, God forbid that this goes on so long that they just have a bunch of product that they can't sell. What's going to be the repercussions of that? So,
right. All right, we're going to wind down the chat here because we've been going for, according to my watch, about 2 hours and 16 minutes. It's crazy. We're going to check in with the comments. But once this slows down, I'll let John. He's got to work tomorrow. What time do you work tomorrow, anyways?
8.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. Yeah. Real Dr. Bigfoot says,
I've been resting a lot lately. I'm fine.
He's been resting up for this chat. He says, I'd be down for Bell's release lighthearted 12 or 15 packs. Just like, that'd be really good. Yes. Wisco Boater's checking out. Chad is going to visit Adam tomorrow for a brew day. That's awesome. I'd love to see what comes out of that. Rob says, last night I had some Oberon from Bell's. They weren't more ABV than the past few years, like 7%, as opposed for 5%. Oh yeah, they started out higher and then they kind of ramped down.
The original Oberon was way higher than 7%, but they've ramped it down. So it's one of those things that you hear every year is people get mad about Bell's not being, or Oberon not being Old Baron, basically. Personally, I still like Oberon. It's that's probably a Michigan thing talking more than anything. But, them making that beer a 5.8% beer, that basically allows every other beer that comes, with the exception of Two Hearted, every other beer that's in that company to come out because it funds so much else. I thought this year's was pretty good. I bought a 4-pack of it when I was doing my essential shopping, just because it was right there. I dug it. I would like to see it as a higher version. If you're in their tap room, every now and then you can catch Uberon, which is pretty close to that. I don't know where you're at locally, Robert, but if you're in Michigan and Commerce, in summer, CJ's has their summer brew, which is a lot of ways the closest thing to what I remember Oberon being when it was a higher ABV beer. It's like a 10%. It's basically like an Oberon clone with that higher alcohol content. Just make sure you have someone driving you because before you know it, it catches up. So
they creep up pretty quick.
Yeah, it's a very sweet, sugary beer. It's got tons of oranges, so it's got a lot of natural sugar. So it's one of those that all of a sudden it's just it hits you. So
It's like somebody's dropping a load of bricks on you.
right.
Grucia says Trail Light from Arbor Brewing. Raspberry hibiscus ale, 99 calories, 3 carbs. Quite good. That's one that I wanted to find, and I think all this stuff started going on right when that got released. And I think I saw it at a couple stores, but I didn't pick it up. I want to do like a roundup of the Michigan, like lower ABV stuff. So do a lighthearted. I still might have a can or two. I think I have one over there. Lighthearted, do a light point, do a trail light. I'm seeing a theme with all these names, but yeah, try all these out.
You get bury your dead. So
yeah,
or bring out your dead. Sorry,
you're dead. Yep. I think I may have drank my last one of those. All right, so
we can get more. So
yeah, 4.3% on Trail Light. Yeah, it won't be a problem. Have either of you had Terra Firma? They use natural flavors and spices, honey and basil, which I think is mostly untapped market for. Yeah, when I went to, it's been a couple of years. I was at Terra Firma. I went up to Torch Lake and Interlaken, like around that area, and had that was one of the places I did like a little mini thing, a little mini kind of brewery tour, on my own. I never had been to Right Brain, so I went to Right Brain. I went to Terra Firma, and I was really impressed. I mean, the space was I think it was relatively new at that point. I think this may have been like 3 years ago. But yeah, it's a pretty cool place. I'd like to see, I know they're canning stuff. I would love to get stuff to bring from Terra Firma here on the channel. I'd love to bring any of the stuff from Northern Michigan. That's kind of like almost like an untapped resource. I mean, obviously we have shorts, and shorts is every week you can get a new shorts thing, but there are a lot of these places that are smaller that I think it'd just be awesome to be able to bring those guys to bring to the channel. I'm looking at the chat here. I'm going to show you. I don't know. You probably can't see the chat.
No.
But Scrooge McDuck versus Uncle Nickelbacks? Nickelbags? No, not Dimebags. Pennybags. Okay. Yeah, I have to go with Scrooge McDuck. He's a lot cooler. He's a lot more adventures. Michael Krosnick, thank you so much, Michael. Michael gave a super chat, gave a big super chat. Super appreciate that. And then I think we're going to probably wrap up with whatever we got here in the chat. We're going to kind of showcase these guys. Dave says, I like old school West Coast IPAs, but within the last 3 years, I want double and triple hazies. He doesn't want Pilsners. He doesn't want lagers. He's just not into that anymore. He's moved on. He's into hazy stuff. And I think you're not alone. You're not.
Plenty of market for that. Shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah. And Grucia says, if you want some Trail Light, he's got plenty. It was like $8.99 for 6 cans at Bush's a couple of weeks ago. I've seen it a few places. And I think that's awesome to be able to bring, like, I know a lot of people on Lighthearted where the big complaint on that was the cost. It's like, well, this costs the same as Two Hearted, but it's half the ABV. Like I'm getting half the beer for the same amount of price. But I think that there's a real spot in the market for being a low cost beer of that style at a low ABV. But if you can kind of combine both of those things, and it sounds like Arbor's doing that.
Where I'd be interested to see where that Captain Pat, whatever that Pabst IPA was, I'd really like to know what the price point is on that.
Yeah,
that's at a PBR price point. It is going to, you mentioned it when you reviewed it, it is going to give breweries a run for their money because it has all those elements. If they can price it right, it will make a difference.
Yeah, that was like, I recorded the review and you and I hadn't talked about it. And John is who I got it from, if you watch the review. And I said, like, this is like otherworldly for a mass market kind of beer for a New England style IPA or hazy IPA, whatever they actually called it. And I looked at Untapped and all the ratings were like 3.5. I think the average was like 3.5 or like mid to low 3s. And I feel like that's just kind of either people that are into Pabst that's not their thing, or people that were just hating on it. I don't see how that was 3.5. I don't rate beers on a 5-point scale. That's just not what I do. But if I had to rate that, it would be like a 4 easily, like not a problem out of 5. Like, I just didn't see where that rating came in from
Right.
from the people that reviewed it.
Well, it's just an exceptionally drinkable beer. And I mean, that's what, as much as we all love the stuff that's like crazy and out there and all that, and I'm in that boat too. I also like a beer that I can just drink, and it hits that nail on the head. So that's a good thing. And again, if you can get a 4-pack of that for $7 or less, that's a great purchase. So
yeah, that was a crazy good beer for just a place that you wouldn't expect it. And I think that might have been part of it. It was like, I didn't expect this to be nearly as good as it was. You gave me the can and I was like, yeah, okay, whatever, Pabst did an IPA, whatever, we'll try it out. And trying it out, and it, was like, geez, this is totally lives up to, a lot of beers from places that have been doing it for a long time. They did a really great job. Tyler says it was Mr. Dimebags. It is not Rich Uncle Dimebags. It's like Penny Bags or something. And then Rob says, John, do you have a YouTube channel?
I do not. Well, there's a Sombeer YouTube channel, but we don't use it very often. Most of our content is on sombeer.com. We're on basically every social media platform, and we make a point of sharing draft therapy stuff with pretty much every chance we can. I might miss one here and there, and if I do, I apologize about that, but we do our best to try and catch them as quick as we can.
And you might recognize John. He was on the Summer Beer Fest, Michigan Summer Beer Fest from 2019. Him and I did like our top 10?
I think so. Something like that.
And then Mike Turif from M4 kind of joined in, and he interrupted the middle. He was so rude. But yeah, we did it on the Ascension bus, and John and I have been kind of talking about this stuff for a while. We're kind of floating ideas about maybe other kind of content to do. If you'd like to hear more from the two of us or whatever, let me know in the comments. I know this is like almost 2.5 hours in. I don't know if anybody's going to be watching this at 2.5 hours after the 11 of you that are watching right now. But if you watch this afterward, you interested in what John and I have to say, or maybe just what John has to say, maybe we'll figure something out to bring more John to you guys. But yeah, I think we've kind of talked quite a bit. We're about 2 hours and 26, almost 27 minutes. I've drank a few beers. I'm not totally in the bag. I feel like I'm still pretty fluid. But I think we're going to cut it off here. We got one more question. We have one more question. Well, actually, we have 2. Oh, Jesus. Okay, John, I'm going to show you Rob's comment first.
All right.
Maybe Rob or you can recommend something in this style. Trappist beer reviews.
I like them, but I don't know enough to recommend one, to be honest with you. I would say if you like that style, if you're in Michigan, and I don't know if he has one on tap right now. I would bet he doesn't. But if you like that kind of stuff, check out Brewery Becker in Brighton. Tons of artisanal type beer. It's not at all uncommon to go in there and not see an IPA on their board, which he's very much so outside the box. So if you're in the area, that's where I would recommend checking out, but I don't have one off the top of my head that I could recommend.
I know Rob has probably a few here. Rob says, I'm totally in the bag. Rob, email me with some Trappist ideas. I know you have before, and I've probably been way too out there to, he's come. Rochefort 10. Email me. Sean at drafttherapy.com. Send me some more ideas. And then we're going to do one last question. I'm not even going to look at chat. I'm not going to show John any more of this chat. Papic03 says, what's up, guys? Drinking one now. Have you tried Soul Snatcher from Rochester Mills?
I have not.
I will take one more comment from Papic03. What style is that? I think I've heard. I think it's like a recent one, but I'm not sure exactly what style it is. So let us know. Ryan Berry says, love the stream, fellas. Have a good night. Ryan, thank you so much for watching. All you guys that are still on, we have 9 viewers. We kind of dropped off a few live. So thanks so much for watching. John, I had a blast talking to you. You know, we catch up occasionally, talk on text and stuff like that. So it's always a good time. Thanks so much for joining.
Cheers. So glad to be on.
Yeah, we'll have to do this again somewhat soon. I mean, I'm sure we'll have nothing but time on our hands.
I'm available regardless of pandemic situations. So
yeah, maybe we'll do it when you don't work the next day. And then Papic03 says that Soul Snatcher is an Irish style red ale bourbon barrel aged beer. That's a
something I would like. So.
Yeah, it sounds pretty awesome. Real Dr. Bigfoot, thanks so much. I know that he's been watching since the beginning of this stream. We got a few people. Rob's been watching since the beginning. Shimei, Weston 12. He's just given us a weary 12. He's given us a lot of numbers in here. But yeah, I know Rob's been watching since the whole time. Oh, here's another one.
Rob, I like the cut of your jib, sir.
I know Tyler's been watching since the beginning. I know that Dr. Bigfoot's been watching since the beginning. I don't know if Dave Vanderhoff's still on, but I know he's been watching since the beginning. We get a big cheers, boys, from Tyler. And Grusha says thanks. I know Grusha's been watching since the beginning. So all you guys, thanks so much for watching. If you guys are interested in doing a community thing where I can invite some of you guys on, hugs and kisses. If I can invite some of you guys on, would you be interested in that? I don't know if any of the other people that were on earlier are still on, but let me know if you're interested. Leave it in the comments down below. Email me at sean@drafttherapy.com. Let me know if you'd like to be interested in getting, maybe not necessarily even on YouTube, just kind of getting on maybe Discord or something, and we can do like a 6-way call or a multi-way call, and we can kind of talk about beer. We can kind of just get silly, get crazy with it. But yeah, we'll see what we can do. Excuse me for the burp. Until next time, Sean from Draft Therapy. We're going to get the branding here. We got John from sombeer.com. Got to click that button. That helps. Somebody just popped in your video there. I only saw. Oh, that was your hand.
That was me, yeah.
Whatever. All right. So thanks so much for watching. Until next time, drink craft beer, support your local breweries. This one is, I'm still nursing this tactile sensations from Ascension with Mr. Poopy Butthole on it, maybe even a dick butt. And again, thanks so much for watching. Until next time, Sean from Draft Therapy, drink craft beer, support your local breweries, especially right now, support your local breweries. And most importantly, don't forget to treat yourself to a little draft therapy. Thanks, John.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks so much for watching. See you guys. Till next time. Peace. And the broadcast.